Chapter 1941. The scene in the Great Hall was actually arranged by the Empress to test your character. Xiaowen also looked at the Saint Lady. The lady beside you should have understood. The Saint Lady stared at Xiaowen and said, "You are saying that your punishment by the Empress was actually arranged?" It turned out that the Saint Lady had experienced something similar. Xiaowen smiled without saying anything. She continued, "The young lady beside you pleaded for me, but she wasn't persistent. My two male companions looked on coldly. That's why the three of them are all trapped, but the difference in treatment is like heaven and earth." Su Yu understood. It was no wonder that when they were both caught, President Zhang and Wang Ying were tortured, but the Holy Maiden was safe and sound. Turned out that she had performed well in the test. Mr. Lien is the only exception. Your character is impeccable, so I followed the Empress's instructions and gave you the tool. What? Su Yu immediately grabbed the handkerchief and stared at it in disbelief. This is the tool? Su Yu was shocked, but he couldn't sense the aura of a tool. The Empress smiled leisurely. To be precise, it is only half a tool. Half a tool? The other half is in my hands. The Empress said playfully. If you had wanted to kill me just now, you would never have gotten this half-tool. Luckily, your character can withstand the test. The Empress rubbed her palm, and a bright red scar appeared. Within the red, a drop of golden blood seeped out, then solidified into a golden pearl. She held the golden pearl and said, "This is a golden pearl that is inherited from the royal bloodline. When it is combined with the handkerchief, the tool appears." Su Yu was relieved that he hadn't tried to kill her. Otherwise, all his efforts would have been in vain. "I can give you the golden pearl, but you have to promise me something," the Empress said. Su Yu nodded. "Speak." "Take me out of the common people's domain," the Empress said. "Leave?" Su Yu asked curiously, "Is it difficult for you to leave?" The Empress said nothing. She extended a finger and pointed at the edge of the common people's domain. Then, an invisible force made her retract her finger. As you can see, the living beings in the common people's region are unable to leave unless someone uses the intercivilization teleportation formation. The Great Empress said calmly. Su Yu did not agree. He muttered to himself for a long time, "If you leave the common people's region, have you thought about the consequences?" "I know." The Empress looked calm. "Die immediately." After all, she was formed from a thread of the common people path. Once she left the common people chess, she wouldn't be able to maintain her human form and would dissipate right away. Su Yu was slightly surprised. "Then why did you?" The female Empress raised her palm, and the blood stain on her palm strangely disappeared. "Can you imagine what it feels like to live alone for 10,000 years? There was a deep sense of desolation in the Empress's eyes. Mortals only know that immortality is a long-cherished wish, but who knows that for us, the members of the royal family, it is merely a curse? Looking at the unchanging landscape, I feel dull and despairing. I can't die even if I want to." The female Empress's eyes were filled with vicissitudes. "I have always envied my people. At least they can start over and experience it once more. But I can't." Su Yu was slightly startled. Immortality wasn't scary. What was scary was being trapped in a limited environment like being in a prison. Moreover, it would be 10,000 years. You must find it strange that there are memorial tablets for the members of the royal family in our ancestral hall. They should have been able to live forever and shouldn't have died. The female Empress became more and more desolate. That is because they threw themselves into the ice lake and slept forever at the bottom of the lake to break free from this world. Unable to die, they could only end their lives by sleeping. I also want to, but I am afraid that one day I will wake up from my sleep only to be sealed in ice and unable to move. That situation will be even more despairing and terrifying. So, I want you to promise me that you will grant me death." The Great Empress only wished for death. The Saint Lady was silent when she heard this, her eyes filled with deep sympathy. "Okay. I promise you." Su Yu nodded. If there is a chance, I will grant you death. The female empress revealed a relieved smile. Thank you. With a flick of her finger, the golden pearl shot out. Suyu used his handkerchief to wrap around it. When the two came into contact, there was a reaction. The golden pearl turned into a golden light, adorning the handkerchief and forming a magical picture of all living beings bowing to the living. At the same time, a wave of foreign information surged into his mind. The picture of all living beings is used to gather the power of all living beings to launch an attack. An attack type 5 Crown Emperor tool. Su Yu's pupils dilated, his heart thumping. At the same time, an ancient and majestic voice reverberated within the common people's chest. All the tools have been gathered. The battle for the throne begins. The female empress smiled, turning to leave. She waved her hand without looking back. Good luck. Su Yu looked at her deeply, his eyes filled with gratitude. It was all thanks to her that he was able to obtain the 5 Crown Emperor tool. And the gratitude she wanted was only death. Suddenly, Su Yu was wrapped up by the power of the common people's chess and transported somewhere else. When he opened his eyes, Fu Bingyu, Alliance Master Jian, and other related people were transported over. At the same time, President Zhang and Wang Ying, who were trapped in the common people's region, were also transported over. Wen Hua, who was far away in the collapsed region, was also transported over. All of the participants were gathered in one place. Apart from the few who had already died, there were still 40 people present. Fu Bingyu and Alliance Master Jian were both shocked. The tools have been taken out? Who? The two of them asked their own people. Su Yu and the Holy Maiden shook their heads. We don't know either. We just escaped from the common people's region and the battle for the throne began. President Zhang and Wang Ying were even more clueless, but the two of them were certain. The two of us were captured. The most likely culprits are them. Fu Bingyu looked at Su Yu and the Holy Maiden with an icy gaze, saying sinisterly, If you have it, hand it over now and I can record it as a great merit. If not, at that moment, a majestic voice once again entered everyone's ears. According to the rules of the battle for the throne, different points will be given according to the different cultivation levels of the participants. Those who defeat will receive corresponding points. Within 3 days, the person with the highest points will be the victor. I will appear and grant one of his wishes. In an instant, a number appeared above everyone's heads. Fu Bingyu's was 13,000. Alliance Master Jian's was 11,000. Yun Qinshuang's was 4,000. President Zhang's was 3,500. What surprised everyone was that Su Yu, one of the leaders of the 10 great factions, had the lowest points among the 3 crown emperors. He only had 800 points. Fu Bingyu looked at him, a little surprised. From a certain point of view, the current points referred to the total combat power. Normally, the 3 crown emperors would have at least 1,000 points. 800 points was too low. Could it be that he was injured, causing his combat power to be slightly lower? Thinking about it, the crowd did not agree. But there were a few unfriendly gazes staring at Su Yu. As the weakest 3 crown emperor, killing him would give him 800 points. It was a very tempting target. Su Yu's heart also trembled. This was not good. Fu Bingyu would protect them temporarily, but he could not block all the attacks. The rules stated that he would receive points if he defeated the opponent. But judging from the hostility between the two sides, the other side would not be merciful. Both sides became nervous. All of them were gathered here. If they were to start a battle at this moment, it would probably cause the sky to darken and the earth to fall, and blood would flow like a river, right? Fu Bingyu and the Alliance Master Jian were fine. They were the reapers, and no one could touch their points. But for the weak, it was the exact opposite. If Alliance Master Jian were to use a great divine ability right from the start, he would be able to wipe them all out. He could not start like this. Su Yu's heart moved. The Saint Maiden had said that as the chess master, he had the ability to change some of the rules. So, could he do it now? With a thought in his mind, he said to himself, everyone should disperse before starting the fight for the throne. Sure enough, the rules had changed, and a powerful force had assigned everyone to different areas. When Su Yu opened his eyes, he found himself in the area where he had first arrived. The rest of the people appeared in the area where they had first arrived. The fight for the throne begins. Su Yu's eyes turned cold, immediately shooting toward the other end of the ancient city. If everyone had returned to their original positions, then Wang Ying should be nearby. Wang Ying had 700 points, only 100 points less than Su Yu. It was not a bad score. Moreover, Su Yu had long wanted to kill this person. As soon as he used the yin-yang wings of Supreme Pole, Su Yu immediately teleported to the southern end of the ancient city. Sure enough, as soon as he arrived, he saw Wang Ying's shadow fleeing to the horizon. It seemed that he had realized his situation was not good. The yin-yang wings of Supreme Pole were activated again, and Su Yu caught up with Wang Ying in an instant. Wang Ying's face was gloomy and he yelled, Sect Master Baiwe, why do you have to make life difficult for a junior like me? I have never offended you. Su Yu smiled and took out the Azura sword without hesitation. Seeing the sword, Wang Ying was stunned, and then he was horrified. You are that human from the Rising Sun tribe. Wait, you are not the Sect Master Baiwe. Su Yu's eyes flashed. Correct. Everyone has been destroyed. Without hesitation, Wang Ying took out his blood-stained cloak and blocked in front of him, easily blocking the terrifying murderous aura. As he blocked the attack, he fled toward the horizon, laughing hideously. You are finished. If the King of Darkness finds out that you are a fake, you will be the first one to be killed. He bit the tip of his tongue and prepared to escape with the secret technique he had used to escape. But this time, Su Yu did not intend to give him any chance to escape. He took out the 5 Thunder Sky blasting hammer and immediately imbued it with divine power. Suddenly, the hammer in his hand turned into 5 different colored thunderbolts and flew toward Wang Ying. With a muffled sound of thunder, Wang Ying was hit by the colorful thunderbolts. The blood-stained cloak on his body was blown to pieces on the spot, and he was badly mutilated, screaming in pain. Even so, Wang Ying's vitality was still amazingly strong. He took out an elixir and stuffed it into his mouth. His whole body recovered instantly, and he launched the escape technique again. Su Yu snorted coldly, put away the Azura sword, and took out a long sword shaped like a dragon. The Royal Power Dragon Sword. Ever since the dragon blood in his body became rich, he had never tried to use this sword again. Chapter 1942. Holding the Royal Dragon Sword in his hand, Su Yu suddenly heard a faint dragon roar from the sword. In the past, there had never been such a reaction. After the dragon blood in his body became pure, the Royal Dragon Sword was indeed different. He took a deep breath and swung the sword. In an instant, a huge dragon-shaped sword energy flashed across the sky. The power of this attack surpassed the complete obliteration, and its power was extraordinary. Wang Ying turned his head and was horrified. He screamed, "Human, don't you dare!" He took out a talisman that contained a strong divine energy. Just as he was about to crush it to resist the extraordinary sword energy, Su Yu shouted, "Time and space freeze." He pointed from afar. Time suddenly stopped around Wang Ying, unable to flow. He held a talisman that was about to be activated and stood there motionlessly. Although he could think, his body was frozen in time. As the first ability of the Divine Nine-Dragon Cauldron that Su Yu comprehended, it was only effective against those below the mortal fairy realm. It was not until recently that he had mastered the time and space laws that he was able to subdue Overlord. The effect of the freeze depended on the strength of the enemy. If it was a 4-crown emperor, it would be less than a breath's time. But if it was a 2-crown emperor, it could be frozen for 3 breaths' time. And 3 breaths' time was more than enough. Boom! Wang Ying watched as the dragon-shaped sword energy penetrated his body. He did not even have time to react before his body exploded on the spot. Su Yu leaped over and immediately used the space law to completely seal off the surrounding area. Wang Ying was difficult to deal with. He could not relax until he was sure that his body and soul had been destroyed. Sure enough, at the moment when the space was sealed, the space 100 feet away seemed to be hit by something, causing a slight ripple. Looking sideways, it was a piece of pitch-black dead wood with a complete soul attached to it. The soul stared at the space barrier in front of him with a look of despair. He kept attacking it, trying to break out of the seal and escape. But no matter what he did, he could not break through. At the same time, a shocking sucking force swept over and Wang Ying was forced to leave the dead wood. Then, he was sucked into the crack between Su Yu's eyebrows. "Human! You will get what you deserve!" Wang Ying roared ferociously. Su Yu's eyebrows closed and swallowed him completely. His heart was unperturbed. He had heard too many similar words, but he was still alive, while those who said these words were all dead. With a hook of his finger, he took Wang Ying's spatial storage device into his palm. After a casual search, he found an item sealed in a brocade box. When he opened the brocade box to take a look, Su Yu's pupils contracted slightly, and a look of delight appeared on his face. He saw a golden eyeball lying quietly within it. Delusions destroying golden eyes? Su Yu was overjoyed. Who would have thought that the second golden eye of dilemmas would be obtained by Wang Ying? It was unknown if he had his own selfish motives, or if he didn't manage to hand over the golden eyes to the Sword Alliance master in time, thus allowing Su Yu to benefit from it. With both of the absurd golden eyes in his hands, Su Yu felt reassured. The identity of the Go Master should not be exposed anymore. Next, he could peacefully hunt for points and obtain victory in the common people's chess. However, in terms of points, with his strength, it was practically a dream for him to be the one with the highest points. Fu Bingyu and Alliance Master Jian could casually hunt down a 3-crown emperor and obtain over 1,000 points. But for Su Yu to hunt down a 3-crown emperor was as difficult as ascending to heaven. If there were no special circumstances, when the common people's chess ended, it would definitely be Fu Bingyu and Alliance Master Jian who had hunted down the majority of the people. With Su Yu's cultivation level, he had almost no chance of turning the tables. His only hope was to kill either Fu Bingyu or Alliance Master Jian. Only by obtaining tens of thousands of points in one go could he become the victor of the common people's chess. Hunting down a 4-crown emperor. Su Yu took a light breath. In the outside world, this would be impossible. But in the common people's chess, there was a possibility. Hunting them requires further planning. For now, I'll choose other targets and try to obtain as many points as I can, Su Yu thought to himself. He came to the area where the 5-crown emperor's corpse was. When Hua had been transported here and had been hiding beside the corpse. Sensing Su Yu's approach, she popped her head out, her eyes filled with caution. The fight for the throne had begun. For someone like her who was ranked at the bottom, she was like a fish on a chopping board. She would die the moment she popped her head out. Hide well, I believe I'll need you soon. Su Yu thought of a plan and comforted her. When Hua nodded hurriedly, retracting her head and not daring to move. Whoosh, a sharp explosion suddenly rang out. 2 figures chased after her, one in front and one behind. He didn't need to look to know who it was. The Holy Maiden and Manager Zhang. Sure enough, the snow-robed Holy Maiden was frantically fleeing with a face full of difficulty. Everyone was transported back to their original positions, including the Holy Maiden and Manager Zhang. Once they were transported back, Manager Zhang began a fierce pursuit of the Holy Maiden. The Holy Maiden had met the Baiwa sect master in this area, so she had come here with a sliver of hope. Her luck was not bad. Su Yu was indeed here. Manager Zhang also felt the Baiwa sect master's aura and hesitated for a moment. This time, he did not give up and continued his pursuit. Anyway, the Baiwa sect master's battle prowess showed that he was heavily injured. His actual battle prowess was not even a quarter of his own, so what was there to fear? Su Yu's eyes revealed a sliver of fear, but he had to save the Holy Maiden. Space transportation. Su Yu lightly shouted, forcefully moving the Holy Maiden to his side using the space law. Manager Zhang's attack missed, his eyes filled with fear. Upper-tier space law? Unbelievable, you've comprehended this law, but your abilities are the weakest among the leaders of the 10 great forces of the Dark Star civilization. Su Yu turned a deaf ear, grabbing the Holy Maiden and fleeing. Because Manager Zhang was using a delaying tactic, an even more powerful divine technique was brewing behind him. Seeing Su Yu so cautious, Manager Zhang grunted, extinguished the divine technique he had prepared behind him, and gave chase. Su Yu brought the Holy Maiden with him, stepping into the collapsed area in one breath. Manager Zhang's eyes revealed a sliver of caution. Although he did not know what dangers lay in the collapsed area, his instincts told him that it was best not to barge in. Moreover, after Su Yu and the Holy Maiden barged in, they stayed in the area and did not come out. Manager Zhang was even more vigilant. Standing at the edge of the area, he coldly shouted, "Bai Wa Sect Master, Holy Maiden! I don't believe that you will never leave." Su Yu brought the Holy Maiden to a floating piece of sky, calmly sitting cross-legged. He leisurely said, "Anyway, with the abilities of the two of us, it is impossible for us to obtain victory. It's fine even if we don't come out. But you, with a fighting capacity of 3,500, ranked 4th, you have a high chance of obtaining victory in the common people's chess. I don't believe that you are willing to give up this opportunity." If he won, he would make a wish to become a 4-crown emperor. Then the power structure of the Dark Star civilization would be rewritten. As expected, Manager Zhang's eyes revealed a strong sense of unwillingness. He shouted, "Hand over that tool to me and I will let you live." Otherwise, Su Yu was unconcerned. "Otherwise what? If you have the ability to barge in, I'll tell you the truth. This area is extremely dangerous. It is a 5-crown emperor level area. If you do not wish to die, enter." The Holy Maiden was secretly anxious. How could he be so foolish? If he explained the dangers of this area clearly, the other party would only think that Su Yu was bluffing. How could such a smart person like him make such a foolish mistake? Something that made her heart sink had indeed happened. Manager Zhang's eyes flashed and he laughed strangely. "Haha, a 5-crown emperor level area? Then I would like to give it a try." If Su Yu had pretended to be mysterious, Manager Zhang might have been wary of this place. But the more exaggerated his words were, the more it meant that there was a problem. Whoosh! Executioner Zhang immediately rushed into the area. Su Yu's expression turned rigid. He brought the Holy Maiden with him and fled into the depths of the area. Manager Zhang laughed coldly. He was even more certain that Su Yu was pretending to be poor. He laughed loudly. "One of you has 800 points, and the other has 600 points. Killing the two of you is equivalent to obtaining the points of a 3-crown emperor. My pursuit of the Holy Maiden up until now was not in vain." His figure suddenly accelerated, charging into the depths of the collapsed area. All around him were collapsed skies and fallen deities. "Die!" Manager Zhang used the chain of rules in the air, prepared to kill Su Yu completely. But at that moment, Su Yu took out the universal main crown. Under the activation of divine energy, 7 to 8 collapsed skies surrounded Manager Zhang. Up, down, left and right they were all sealed. Manager Zhang frowned, a little shocked. "You can control the collapsed area of this place?" What answered him was the pressure of the collapsed skies. Manager Zhang did not know how powerful they were. He let out a cold grunt, using his own chain of rules to resist. However, the sky seemed to be the real sky. In an instant, the chains were shattered. At that moment, Manager Zhang realized that he was in trouble. His eyes were filled with shock. He retreated without hesitation, but the skies behind him were also collapsing. At the critical moment, Manager Zhang took out a 7-foot-long iron rod. It gave off a shocking aura of a tool. It was a 3-crown Emperor level tool. Divine Sea Stabilizing Needle. He tossed the iron rod into the air. The iron rod immediately grew with the wind, blocking the 2 collapsing skies above and below his head, greatly slowing down their encirclement. Taking advantage of the opportunity, he escaped through the gap in the skies. The Holy Maiden secretly felt that it was a pity. So close. She did not expect Manager Zhang to have such a powerful tool on him. It had saved her life at the critical moment. But Su Yu was unmoved. He had a faint smile on his face. It wouldn't be easy for him to leave this area. Explode, he growled. All of a sudden, a god that had been floating nearby at some point in time exploded with a loud bang. The earth-shattering explosive power was comparable to the fatal blow of a 3-crown Emperor. Puff! Manager Zhang was badly mutilated on the spot, but he was far from dead. But Su Yu was not in a hurry. He had as many gods as he wanted. When Manager Zhang stabilized his body, he discovered that he was surrounded by numerous gods. Manager Zhang's face turned deathly pale, and his eyes trembled. You have a 5-crown Emperor level tool? Su Yu smiled lightly. What do you think? With a thought, several gods exploded at the same time. Boom, boom, boom. Amidst the explosion, Manager Zhang was blown to pieces. When the aftermath of the explosion dissipated, the Holy Maiden blinked. Dead. Chapter 1943. The Holy Maiden did not see it, but Su Yu saw it clearly. At the last moment, Mr. Zhang used a special tool to wrap up half of his flesh and soul and send him out of the area. With the remaining flesh and soul, Mr. Zhang reconstructed his body and fled for his life. Chase. Su Yu's eyes flashed. This person had 3,500 points, second only to Yun Qianchuang. If he could obtain more points, it would be very important to the final victory. The Holy Maiden bit her lips. Fine. His points will all belong to you. She no longer held any hope of victory. No matter how she calculated, she could not compare to the points of Fu Bingyu and Alliance Master Jian, the 2 4-crown emperors. Rather than that, she might as well help Su Yu. What about you? Su Yu asked as he chased. The Holy Maiden thought for a moment, her eyes turning. I don't want the points, but I hope that after the common people's chess ends, you will reveal your true appearance. How about that? Sure. Su Yu agreed without hesitation. Whether or not his identity was exposed was no longer important. It's a deal. The 2 of them chased after him, but Mr. Zhang had many tools on him. Just as he was about to be caught, he took out a wing-shaped tool. His movement technique increased explosively, shaking off Su Yu and the Holy Maiden. Seeing that she was about to lose him, the Holy Maiden hesitated, then took out an ancient porcelain bowl. The aura of the tool was shocking, second only to that of a 5-crown Emperor. This is the tool that Mr. Zhang tried so hard to snatch back from me, the Holy Maiden said, imbuing it with divine energy and tossing it into the sky. In an instant, the ancient porcelain bowl flew into the sky, its mouth aimed at Mr. Zhang. A ball of light shot out from the bowl. Mr. Zhang, who was speeding away, was instantly enveloped by the light. No matter how fast he ran, he could only spin on the spot, unable to escape even half a step. This is the effect of the world's end near at hand, the Holy Maiden said. It can prevent a designated enemy from leaving their original position. The effect lasts for the time it takes to brew a cup of tea. The time it takes to brew a cup of tea? As expected of a 4-crown Emperor level tool. With this, it would be much easier to kill an enemy. Unfortunately, after using it once, it immediately disappeared, reduced to fragments of light. Su Yu's eyes flashed as he flew in front of Mr. Zhang. His current cultivation level had fallen to that of a single crown emperor, and his body was extremely weak. Su Yu could easily kill him. Seeing that he had nowhere to run, Bank Manager Zhang's eyes turned fierce. Cult leader by you. I admit that I lost to you, but don't think you'll have it easy either. He took out another strange tool. It was a tool that looked like a ghost's mask. He covered his face with it and looked at Su Yu deeply. All of a sudden, Su Yu felt as if there was something extra in his body. But no matter how hard he looked, he couldn't sense what it was. What did you do? Su Yu's gaze became grave as he asked. He had a bad premonition. President Zhang sneered, "You will know very soon. You are courting death." In order to avoid future troubles, Su Yu did not hold back any longer, so he ended his life with a single sword strike. First was Wang Ying's 700 points, then President Zhang's 3,500 points. Unknowingly, Su Yu had obtained 4,200 points. Quick, let's see if he has any tools left. The Saintess was eager to try. However, to their disappointment, the ghostly mask was President Zhang's last item. What a waste of effort! The Saintess looked disappointed. Su Yu lightly shook his head. I was lucky to obtain his points. If he hadn't fallen for my trap and been seriously injured by me, with the tools he has, I'm afraid he has the potential to become the final victor. That's true. The Saintess thought about it carefully and felt that she had been very lucky. Luckily, when President Zhang was chasing her, he could not bear to use his tools. Otherwise, even a few lives would not be enough for her. Let's go see Lord Baokuan and the Qingming Palace Master. It will be much safer to work with them. The Saintess smiled. Is there a need to hide from me? The so-called Lord Baokuan and the Qingming Palace Master are actually your puppets, right? Su Yu smiled and did not deny it. Using their soul connection, Su Yu quickly found the two puppets. With the help of two puppets at the level of the Three-Crown Emperor, Su Yu was much more confident. Next, they began to hunt for points. Their targets were participants who had not reached the level of a Three-Crown Emperor. Moreover, as long as the other party was willing to admit defeat, they would not kill them. 2 days passed. Su Yu, the Saintess, and the two puppets searched 49 districts, looking for the hidden Two-Crown Emperor. Their luck was average, and they only found 3. The rest were taken by the Three-Crown Emperor and 2 Four-Crown Emperors. When there was only 1 day left, out of the original 40 people, there were less than 10 left. They were Fu Bingyu, Yun Qianshuang, Hua Hun, Ling Yun, the Baiwa Sect Master, Lord Baokuan, the Star Alliance Chamber of Commerce's Alliance Master Jian, and the 3 Three-Crown Emperors. The rest were all eliminated. Among them, Fu Bingyu alone eliminated the majority of the people. His points were close to 12,000. The Alliance Master Jian only had 8,000 points. If there were no surprises, Fu Bingyu would be first place. In the end, the competition between the two sides became a one-sided one. Fu Bingyu summoned the people of the Dark Star Civilization to gather together. To Fu Bingyu, as long as he ensured that the Alliance Master Jian did not obtain any more points, he could become the final victor with an absolute advantage. Therefore, he did not take the initiative to attack. Instead, he protected the people of the Dark Star Civilization and waited for the last day to pass. He could control his temper, but the Alliance Master Jian could not. When there was only half a day left, the Alliance Master Jian could not sit still any longer. He led the remaining 3 people to find the people of the Dark Star Civilization. Fu Bingyu's figure flashed, and he stood in front of the people of the Dark Star Civilization. He smiled at the Alliance Master Jian and the 3 people beside him. Alliance Master Jian, why are there only 3 people left? The Alliance Master's face darkened. The points that the common people's chess gave them were indeed reliable. Fu Bingyu's true strength was 20% higher than his. In the battle for the throne, the 20% difference was immediately apparent. Now that Fu Bingyu had the absolute advantage, the only way for him to turn the tables was to fight to the death. If he could kill a few of the 3 Crown Emperors of the Dark Star Civilization before the last moment, there was hope for him to succeed. King of Darkness, it's too early to celebrate. There's still half a day left. The Alliance Master snorted. Suddenly, he seemed to sense something. He stared at Su Yu, his eyes flashing with killing intent. You have the aura of the evil spirit detection tool on you. Does that mean you killed Manager Zhang? Hearing this, everyone looked at Su Yu in shock. Su Yu's combat points were only 800, while Manager Zhang's was 3,500. How did the former defeat the latter? Yun Qianchuang looked over curiously, sizing up Su Yu. Fu Bingyu also looked over with a surprised expression. This person could actually defeat Manager Zhang? What did he rely on? Could the Five-Crown Emperor's tool from the mortal world really have fallen into his hands? The Alliance Master's gaze was unfriendly. Junior, since Manager Zhang used the evil spirit detection tool on you, he must want me to see what kind of powerful tools you have on you, right? The function of the malicious spirit's vision tool was to point at a person and clearly see the other person's items. Before Manager Zhang died, he had used the evil spirit detection tool to designate the Alliance Master to see what tools Su Yu had on him. Once he discovered that Su Yu had the World Master Crown, he would definitely be hunted down by the Alliance Master. Then, I'll take a look. The Alliance Master swiped his finger in front of him, a pair of ghostly eyes flashing in his eyes. Taking a quick look, the Alliance Master was shocked. 2 Five-Crown Emperor level tools? What? Everyone present turned pale with fright. 2? Wait. 2 of the fantasy-destroying golden eyes are in your hands. Could it be that you? The Alliance Master's voice trailed off, unable to continue. However, he had said too much. Those who were slightly intelligent understood what he meant. Who would think of a way to obtain 2 fantasy-destroying golden eyes, but not use them? There was only one person, the chess master, the legendary person who owned the common people's chess. He could change part of the rules of the competition, and he could even change parts of the scene within the area. During the fight for the throne, the 2 sides who were about to engage in a group battle were all transported to their original positions. Although no one said it, they all knew that the chess master hidden among them had changed the rules. The other shortcut for common people's chess to win was to kill the chess master. Swish, 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 countless pairs of eyes instantly gathered on Su Yu. Even the Saint Maiden was shocked. She had never imagined that the chess master would be Su Yu. Su Yu's expression turned extremely dark. The evil spirit mask's function was to see through him. The reason he had hidden the 2 fantasy-destroying golden eyes was obvious, to conceal his identity. Thus, he had revealed his identity as the chess master. 8 pairs of eyes stared at Su Yu. Especially Fu Bingyu and Alliance Master Jian. Stall the opponent and buy time for me. Alliance Master Jian bellowed, turning into a shadow of light as he rushed over. Fu Bingyu was 1 step ahead of him, appearing in front of Su Yu in a flash. How dare you deceive me, you're courting death. He struck out with his palm, intending to kill Su Yu on the spot. Not long ago, he had been praising Su Yu, but in the blink of an eye, he had turned against Su Yu mercilessly. At this critical moment, Su Yu could no longer hide. Since his identity as the chess master had been exposed, why would he need to hide? Mountains come, water block. As the chess master, one of his abilities was to change the layout of the area. In an instant, a vast expanse of mountains and rivers appeared out of thin air between Su Yu and the crowd. Fu Bingyu's palm shattered the mountains and rivers, but he could not kill Su Yu. Su Yu had several opportunities to use the yin-yang wings of Supreme Pole to escape to another area. However, he could barely shake off the 3-Crown Emperor, but the 4-Crown Emperor could not. Fu Bingyu and Alliance Master Jian appeared beside Su Yu. Alliance Master Jian's eyes were filled with crazed, murderous intent. He wanted to turn defeat into victory, and all he had to do was kill Su Yu. At this moment, one could imagine how agitated he was. Fu Bingyu's murderous intent was equally deep. He was supposed to win, but because of Su Yu's identity, he had fallen into a precarious situation. If Alliance Master Jian was 1 step ahead of him, then everything would be over. If Alliance Master Jian wished to become a five-crown emperor, would there still be a place for him in the Dark Star civilization? The two big shots exploded with unprecedented murderous intent towards Su Yu, attacking without mercy. Su Yu secretly clenched his teeth. The current situation was 10,000 times worse than the worst scenario he had imagined. Chapter 1944. Move the mountains and fill the seas. Su Yu once again used his identity as the chess master to change the layout of the area. The area he was in immediately changed, blocking the attacks of the two people. However, this alone was far from enough to stop them. After taking the opportunity to leave the area, Su Yu immediately made a second change. Area swap. Under his control, the area where Fu Bingyu and the Sword Alliance Master were at was swapped with another area that was further away. Only then did they manage to put some distance between them. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Su Yu activated the yin-yang wings of Supreme Pole and fled. You are seeking death. Fu Bingyu was a little angry. He instantly caught up with Su Yu, and the terrifying power of the Four-Crown Emperor bombarded him. Su Yu had to continue changing the layout of the area, using this to block the bombardment, and take the opportunity to escape. However, after blocking Fu Bingyu, the attacks of the Sword Alliance Master came one after another. Su Yu escaped by a hair's breadth. As such, under the relentless pursuit of the two Four-Crown Divine Warriors, Su Yu was surrounded by perils as he escaped. He almost died several times. He almost couldn't help but activate the offensive Five-Crown Emperor tool, but he resisted. The common people respect painting could only be used once, and it could only be used to attack one enemy. Now that he was being attacked by two Four-Crown Emperors, he couldn't change the situation. Fu Bingyu and the Sword Alliance Master were also chasing him with cold eyes. At this moment, they discovered that the moon-worshipping sect master did not have the slightest bit of desolate power. His body was full of divine power. This was enough to show that he was not even a divine warrior of heaven and earth. Such a junior, yet the two of them couldn't kill him. The reason was that his identity as the chess master was quite troublesome. You can't escape. If you die in my hands, your moon-worshipping sect will live a better life. Otherwise, when I get out, I will immediately destroy you. Fu Bingyu threatened the moon-worshipping sect master. After all, the moon-worshipping sect had been used by Su Yu, and more importantly, Yang Tai was among them. So be it. Do you think I care? Since things had come to this, Su Yu could only do the opposite. He tore off the extremely black robe on his body, revealing his human face. Fu Bingyu was slightly stunned. Human? You are not the moon-worshipping sect master? He didn't recognize Su Yu's face, but the Sword Alliance Master recognized him immediately. You are the sixth prince of the Du Empire, Dongfang Yu? To be exact, it's Su Yu from the constellation Sea Civilization. Su Yu sighed inwardly. It seemed like the lockdown on the Du Empire had been lifted. The Star Alliance Chamber of Commerce's Intelligence Department had already sent the news back to the Dark Star Civilization. Fortunately, he no longer needed to hide his identity as the moon-worshipping sect leader. That's right, it's me. Su Yu grinned. I've used the moon-worshipping cult of the Dark Star Civilization to accomplish many things, but it's useless now. You can destroy it if you want. What does it have to do with me? Fu Bingyu's face darkened in an instant. He was furious at being deceived. I didn't expect that you would dare to play tricks under my nose. Su Yu let out a sinister laugh, then spared no effort to flee to one region after another, trying his best to shake them off. The two of them chased each other for about half a day. Finally, Su Yu managed to escape to the collapsed area by a fluke and plunged into it. Fu Bingyu and Alliance Master Sword stood at the edge of the region and did not advance recklessly. As Four-Crown Emperors, their intuition was extremely sharp. The collapsing vault of heaven and the falling gods gave them a feeling of danger. However, the greatest sense of danger came from the floating corpse. This is the region where the 5 crown emperors once appeared? Fu Bingyu's eyes became even colder. This silver-haired human had concealed so much from him. He looked at Alliance Master Sword, who also had a hint of fear in his eyes, and said, "As you said in the past, I think maybe we need to cooperate." That day, under the Holy Pond, Alliance Master Sword had said that they would cooperate sooner or later. Now, his words had come true. Alliance Master Sword nodded slowly. "Okay. Let's drive this person out of this region first." After saying that, the two of them immediately stepped into the region. At the same time, Su Yu took out the World Master Crown and instilled his divine power to control this place. Large areas of collapsing heaven and earth and falling gods were bombarded indiscriminately. Every blow could destroy a 3-crown emperor. When dozens of them overlapped, the power was unimaginable. Even though Fu Bingyu and Alliance Master Sword had joined forces, they were still blown up by the explosions. Alliance Master Sword was filled with murderous intent. He shouted, "Junior, you are dead!" The two of them broke through all obstacles and joined forces to attack. Su Yu was not afraid at all. He laughed and said, "Come at me if you have the ability." He retreated continuously. The deeper he went, the more heaven and gods were destroyed. In this region, Su Yu was undefeatable. Fu Bingyu and Alliance Master Sword's faces darkened. Even though they were 4-crown emperors, they could not withstand the endless bombardment. Damn it, were they going to give up just like that? Fu Bingyu was fine. At most, he would chase after Su Yu after the common people's chess was over and kill him. But Alliance Master Sword had no choice. The only way to turn the tables was to kill the chess master. However, it was easier said than done to kill Su Yu in this region. Moreover, Fu Bingyu's face flinched. If Alliance Master Sword was alone, it would be even more difficult to kill Su Yu. "Haha, you two, why are you not continuing?" Su Yu laughed wildly. "Aren't you the strongest beings in the Dark Star civilization? Now you can't even deal with a junior like me?" Fu Bingyu remained unmoved. A mere provocation wouldn't be able to move him at all. He stopped in his tracks and said coldly, "You can be arrogant, but after the common people's chess is over, I hope you will not beg for mercy." As expected, he was going to withdraw. Alliance Master Sword was filled with hatred. According to the news from the Dew Empire, this human called Su Yu was extremely cunning. This was evident from the fact that he alone was able to stir up a storm in the entire Dew dynasty. With this person as the chess master, it would be even more difficult to deal with. He also had some thoughts of retreating. If he went any further, he might also encounter danger. However, at this moment, something strange happened. The 5-crown divine warrior's corpse suddenly attacked without any warning. Its palm slapped the complacent Su Yu until he spat out blood and crashed into the collapsing dome of the sky. Roar! The corpse roared at the sky and jumped to the sky where Su Yu was. It gripped Su Yu's neck with its ferocious fingers and stopped the flow of divine energy in his body. Swish! A delicate figure took the opportunity to fly over and snatch the World Master Crown from Su Yu's hands. She laughed loudly. The mantis stalks the cicada, unaware of the oriole behind. "You didn't expect me to hide here and secretly control the 5-crown emperor's corpse, did you?" Alliance Master Sword, who was about to retreat, looked over and was overjoyed. "You are from the Star Alliance Chamber of Commerce?" Wen Hua was stunned. She looked over and immediately revealed a look of awe. She knelt on one knee and said, "One of the people in charge of the Xingqing faction, Wen Hua, greets Alliance Master Sword." Alliance Master Sword was overjoyed. "Wen Hua, well done. When we return, I will appoint you as the president. You will be in charge of the Star Alliance Chamber of Commerce in several areas of influence." Wen Hua was extremely excited. She offered the World Master Crown with both hands and said, "Thank you, Alliance Master Sword, for your kindness." A small character like her would not normally receive the attention of Alliance Master Sword. Now that she had received a reward, her excitement was naturally genuine. The World Master Crown was not activated. The nearby heaven and gods slowly dispersed. Alliance Master Sword was completely relieved. He flew over while laughing loudly. However, he did not take the World Master Crown. Instead, he went straight for Suyu to take his life. If he could kill the chess master, he would win. Why would he need tools? He was not the only one who had the same idea. Fu Bingyu's reaction was even faster. Without warning, he launched a sneak attack on Alliance Master Sword from behind. Alliance Master Sword was on guard. He shouted, "I knew you would launch a sneak attack." His attack on Suyu turned to attack Fu Bingyu. Between the two of them, Fu Bingyu was much stronger. With one move, Alliance Master Sword was immediately at a disadvantage. Fu Bingyu laughed coldly. "Your reputation is not as good as meeting you in person. Alliance Master Sword, you are nothing more than this." Alliance Master Sword's face darkened. He shouted, "Wen Hua, activate the tools and surround and kill the King of Darkness." Wen Hua nodded. She immediately mobilized the heaven and gods in the sky and attacked Fu Bingyu. Fu Bingyu's smile disappeared. He quickly attacked Suyu. "Don't even think about it." Alliance Master Sword shouted and flew forward to stop him. "Get lost." At the last moment, Fu Bingyu no longer held back. The powerful ice rule chain swept across. Alliance Master Sword condensed his own rule to resist, but he was far inferior to his opponent. With a groan, he spat out divine blood. Damn it! Alliance Master Sword was injured and could no longer stop Fu Bingyu. He could only watch as Fu Bingyu attacked Suyu. Just a little more. Fu Bingyu's eyes were cold. He walked in front of Suyu and laughed coldly. "Human ant, it's over." It was indeed over. However, at that moment, Suyu struggled to take out a tool and activated it. Heavenly Abyss Curse. Its function was to teleport a specific person to a place 48 regions away. Suddenly, Fu Bingyu's body turned into nothingness. He sensed that something was amiss. His eyes were filled with malice as he shouted, "No!" However, before he could say anything, the power of the common people's chess teleported him away, leaving behind a furious roar. Alliance Master Sword, who was already in despair, was stunned for a moment. He looked up to the sky and laughed. "Ha ha! Ha ha! I knew you wouldn't die so easily. Based on your performance in the Diyu Empire, how could you die so easily?" Wen Hua, trap his limbs. Don't give him another chance to take out a tool. Wen Hua nodded. Under her control, the corpse bound Suyu's arms so that he couldn't move. Seeing this, Alliance Master Sword relaxed. He couldn't help but laugh as he walked over. No matter how strong the King of Darkness is, things that shouldn't belong to him will never belong to him. Wen Hua nodded her head. Alliance Master Sword is right. A strange light flashed in her eyes. Without any warning, she activated the World Master Crown. Instantly, the god he passed by exploded. Alliance Master Sword was hit, and his body was blasted into a mess. Wen Hua, you betrayed me. Alliance Master Sword was furious. Only now did he realize Wen Hua's ambition. She also wanted to become the winner of the common people's chess. Luckily, Alliance Master Sword was a 4-crown emperor. Although he was injured by the sneak attack, his injuries weren't serious. Moreover, he was quite close to Wen Hua. He could kill her with just a thought. Humph! With a cold grunt, he struck out with a chain of law. Wen Hua used the collapsed sky to block in front of her, blocking the strike. Although Alliance Master Sword was filled with hatred, he was very rational. He had many opportunities to kill Wen Hua. The most important thing now was to kill Suyu. Chapter 1945. The common people's chess ends here. But at that moment, the subdued Suyu suddenly broke free and took out the 5-crown Emperor's tool, the picture of the common people. The Sword Alliance Master was shocked. How did you, without the control of the common master crown, how could the corpse suddenly let go? That was because the corpse had not caught Su Yu at all. It was just putting on a show. The 5-crown Emperor level tool was activated, and a wave of extremely vast power suddenly exploded. Su Yu, who was holding the tool, felt his skin crawl, and his hair stood on end. In the face of this power, he was like a speck of dust, and any resistance was unnecessary. Even if he hurriedly opened the Tao Tai's eyes, he would not be able to block this blow. And this was just the feeling of a bystander. What kind of despair would the Sword Alliance Master feel when he was swept away by this power? The will of the common people swept across the picture, and the Sword Alliance Master's body fell apart, disintegrating along with his soul. When the will of the common people completely dissipated, apart from the mottled fragments, there was nothing left of the Sword Alliance Master. This was the power of the 5-crown Emperor. In front of it, the 4-crown Emperor was like a speck of dust, instantly crushed. However, before the dust had settled, the shattered pieces actually showed signs of gathering together again. A furious will roared. Wen Hua! How dare you collude with outsiders to harm me? Wen Hua's fragrant body trembled, her eyes filled with fear. Her long eyelashes trembled as she stared at the reassembling fragments, falling into infinite despair. The Sword Alliance Master was not dead. Su Yu's eyes flashed. You are at the end of your rope. He flew over, snatching the crown from the dazed Wen Hua's palm, and immediately activated it. Roar, with a thought, the remains of the 5-crown Emperor rushed forward, once again scattering the fragments that were about to reassemble. Bastard of the human race! I cultivate the law of immortality. You can't kill me! The angry voice reverberated again, and the scattered fragments began to reassemble again. Humph! Su Yu snorted, mobilizing the collapsing heavens and the gods to continue bombarding the fragments. Once, 10 times, 100 times, 1,000 times. The scattered fragments reassembled again and again, shattered and reassembled again and again. Su Yu's eyes sank bit by bit. The law of immortality was too tricky. The reason why he chose to expel Fu Bingyu out of the 48th district and attack Alliance Master Jian was because Alliance Master Jian's combat strength was lower and the possibility of killing him was higher. Who would have thought that even though Alliance Master Jian's battle prowess was inferior to Fu Bingyu's, his vitality was far stronger than expected. Such continuous bombardment could not kill them at all. Su Yu's heart sank when he saw that the sky and the gods in the area were getting thinner and thinner, and there were signs that the fragments could no longer be suppressed. At this moment, a cloud of purple mist suddenly flashed in his 9-jade spiritual pearl. It was the little Kylan who saw that the situation was bad and rushed out to deal with it. It flew over, grabbed a fragment with its mouth, and swallowed it. Evil creature! What did you do? Spit it out right now. Alliance Master Jian's furious voice reverberated. Hee hee. Little Qilin laughed weirdly and swallowed another one. Ah, stop. Vaguely, the little Qilin seemed to be able to restrain his undying laws. The little Qilin turned a deaf ear to it, happily swallowing the fragments one by one. Evil creature, the Alliance Master will destroy you. The remaining fragments tried to forcefully regroup, scaring the little Qilin into hurriedly retreating. However, under the suppression of the remains of the 5-crown divine warrior and the many sky and gods, it crumbled again. The little Qilin grinned and swallowed the fragments with a swagger. The last 100 fragments were all swallowed by the little Kylan into its stomach, not a single one was left. It burped and spat out a breath of nothingness, rubbing its bulging belly. If you have the ability, regroup in nothingness. Su Yu suddenly understood. The world in the little Qilin's belly was a piece of nothingness. Anything that entered it would be assimilated by the nothingness and become a part of it. No matter how powerful Alliance Master Jian's law of immortality was, it could do nothing against the terrifying power of nothingness. In this world, apart from Path Masters, No living creature could resist the power of nothingness. At the same time, Suyu felt that there was something extra in his body. It should be the complete death of Alliance Master Jian. The common people's chess had marked Suyu's body with a certain number of points. In that case, Suyu's current points were as high as 15,200, far exceeding Fu Bingyu's. Suyu's eyes were filled with joy. Although it was dangerous, everything had gone according to plan. You did well. Suyu looked at Wenhua approvingly. If Wenhua had not cooperated well, Alliance Master Jian would not have taken the bait. Wenhua's face was filled with fear. She stared at Suyu as if she was looking at a demon. She could not believe that a 4-crown divine warrior had been killed just like that. Especially since he was Alliance Master Jian, who had cultivated the law of immortality. Leader Su, you flatter me, Wenhua said, trembling. She had already lost her usefulness. Her fate had reached its most crucial moment. Should he kill the donkey after it left the millstone, or Suyu casually threw out 2 space storage devices? One belonged to Wang Ying, and the other belonged to Manager Zhang. The former was the disciple of Alliance Master Jian, and the latter was a 3-crown divine warrior. Apart from the devices, Suyu had not touched the resources inside. This is for you, Suyu said. Wenhua recognized their storage rings at a glance. She said excitedly, "Thank you, Leader Su. Thank you, Leader Su." With so many resources, it was enough for her to bribe the higher-ups of the Star Alliance Chamber of Commerce and raise her status. She might even be able to leave the 4-star civilization and work for a higher-level civilization. Suyu nodded slightly. But the seal I placed on you will only be undone after we leave the common people's chest. Do you have any objections? No. Wenhua said with certainty. If Suyu really wanted to harm her, he could kill her now. Why wait until later? Then leave this place quickly and find another place to hide. The King of Darkness will return very soon. Looking at the sky and the area where the gods were, this place was no longer safe. Leader Su, be careful. The King of Darkness will not let you off so easily, Wenhua said. If he is the only one chasing me, there is no need to worry. I have a way to deal with him, Suyu said slowly. He then sped towards the common people's region. Not long after, a powerful aura descended upon the area. It was Fu Bingyu, who had a gloomy expression on his face. He stared at the collapsing area, his expression growing darker and darker. Suyu did not die. If he died, then the common people's chess would have ended. So the one who died was Alliance Master Jian. As expected, he chased me out of the 48th area to kill Alliance Master Jian with a 5-crown Emperor-level tool. Fu Bingyu's expression was dark and cold. This meant that Suyu's current points had already surpassed his. A deep sense of urgency filled his heart. Less than 2 hours had passed since the common people's chess ended. The remaining participants had already found a place to hide. How could it be easy to make up for their points in such a short period of time? The only way was to kill Suyu. Fu Bingyu's gaze shifted in the direction that Suyu had gone. The 4-crown Emperor's perception of auras was far superior to that of ordinary people. After a careful analysis, he immediately locked onto the direction that Suyu had gone. I don't believe that I can't deal with you. Fu Bingyu snorted coldly and chased after him. With his speed, it was easy for him to catch up to Suyu. An hour later, before the common people's chess ended, he finally found traces of Suyu. At that moment, Suyu was fleeing towards the common people's region. Seeing the King of Darkness catch up, Suyu once again used his identity as the chess master to change the situation and block him. With the chess master's abilities that Suyu had displayed before, he could delay him for an hour. Fu Bingyu's expression was ice-cold. Human ant, I didn't use my full strength to chase you before because I was afraid of Alliance Master Jian. Since he is already dead, there is no need to be so afraid. Creak, a bone-chilling ice ruler appeared in his palm. With a light tap, the entire world around him froze. Not only did space freeze, but even time started to show a slight break. Su Yu's pattern changes were no longer able to obstruct his opponent. Ice seal. The ice ruler in Fu Bingyu's palm pointed towards Su Yu. At that moment, a sense of death surged towards him. Su Yu's heart skipped a beat, but his expression was relatively calm. An absolute time defense appeared on the surface of his body. That sense of death immediately vanished into thin air. Taking advantage of this opportunity, he used the space law to break through the ice seal that covered the sky and stepped out. Fu Bingyu's pupils constricted. Time and space law top class. Out of the 8 great profound meanings of heaven and earth, anyone who could comprehend one of them was a genius, let alone 2. But his gaze became even colder. The more it was like this, the more Su Yu had to die. He did not want to offend someone who had comprehended the 8 great profound meanings with terrifying potential. Death cut. Fu Bingyu pointed at Su Yu's distant back once again. Countless icy blades of air, invisible to the naked eye, intertwined to form an ice net, cutting Su Yu into pieces. Fu Bingyu heaved a sigh of relief. He is finally dead. Unexpectedly, before he could say the word dead, a jade light flashed, and Su Yu came back to life. He was alive and kicking, without any major injuries. With a swoosh, Su Yu used the yin-yang wings of Tai Chi to escape without a trace. Top class of the life law? Even with Fu Bingyu's experience, he could not help but be dumbfounded. He could not believe his eyes. Comprehending 3 of the 8 great profound meanings? The murderous intent in his heart was unprecedentedly strong. Such an unparalleled genius, he could either not provoke him, or if he did, he had to die. An inexplicable fear lingered in his heart. Yun Qianshuang, Hua Hun, Ling Yun, Lord Bao Kuan, and Palace Master Qing Ming, listen to my orders. Guard the vicinity of the common people's region and stop Su Yu, even if it's just for a moment. Fu Bingyu immediately sent a message. When Su Yu rushed to the common people's region, the 3 of them lined up neatly. As for Lord Bao Kuan and the Palace Master Qing Ming, Su Yu's pupils shrank when he saw that the flesh on their bodies had been blasted apart, revealing their hidden puppet bodies. Furthermore, they were bound by some kind of powerful silk thread by Yun Qianshuang, and could not struggle. Yun Qianshuang's lips curled into a faint smile. How surprising! Lord Bao Kuan and the Palace Master Qing Ming are just like you, impostors. This woman had seen through Su Yu's disguise from the start. What made Su Yu even more serious was that he had not received any news that they had been captured, even though his soul was connected to the 2 puppet souls. Even if Fu Bingyu had personally taken action, it was impossible that Su Yu had not received any news, right? Chapter 1946. Hua Hun and Ling Yun looked at him coldly. Cult Master Baiwe, you deserve this? We can settle the score for killing the Emperor of Yu. The 3 Triple Crown Emperors from the northern forces looked over. Yun Qianshuang, who stood in the middle, was the most frightening. Su Yu became slightly anxious. With Fu Bingyu's cultivation, it would only take him a short while to catch up to them, and if the 3 people in front of him continued fighting with him, then everything would be over. If I were you, I would immediately hide myself. Su Yu's shoulders shook, and a series of shocking numbers appeared above his head. 15,200. The 3 of them were astonished. In an instant they understood what Su Yu meant. Fu Bingyu had already fallen into a disadvantageous position. If he wanted to turn defeat into victory, he would have to either kill Su Yu or kill a few more 3 Crown Emperors. Currently, Yun Qianshuang had 4,000 battle points, while the other 2 had slightly more than 1,000. If he killed them, Fu Bingyu would be able to surpass Su Yu. Don't worry. Suddenly, Hua Hun said, as long as we can stop Lord Baiwe and wait for the King of Darkness to finish him off, I believe the King of Darkness will not need to take our points. Ling Yun agreed. The Dark King still needs us to govern the Dark Star civilization. If there's no need, he won't harm us. Hearing this, Su Yu felt that it was ridiculous. The real Dark King might consider their contribution in managing the Dark Star civilization. But as for Fu Bingyu had mercilessly killed the Feather Emperor, and Fu Bingyu had not shown any mercy. Sect leader Bai Yu, surrender or admit defeat to King of Darkness. I can spare your life because we've met before and that niece fell in love with you at first sight. Hua Hun and Ling Yun were surprised. Yun Qianshuang and the fake Bai Yu sect leader knew each other? Su Yu's heart shook. This woman. He had long felt that she looked familiar. He must have seen her somewhere before. But where? Furthermore, she had a niece. All of a sudden, Su Yu gasped. It's you. Sea of Constellations Civilization, Ancient Dream Sacrificial Altar. He had once encountered a strange pair of aunt and niece. One was a beautiful woman, and the other was a delicate 19-year-old girl. At that time, Su Yu had even snatched away their Ancient Dream altar brand. It had been too long, and she had been inconspicuous back then, so Su Yu hadn't paid much attention to her. Hence, he couldn't associate her with Yun Qianshuang, who was standing before him. Now that he thought about it, didn't Yun Qianshuang's facial features and appearance look exactly the same as his aunt, aside from her ink-black skin of the Dark Moon clan? Yun Qianshuang said with a half-smile, "Oh? You finally remembered?" Su Yu was shocked. How is this possible? At that time, among the participants of the Ancient Dream Altar, the one with the highest cultivation was only the glazed crystal overlord. Why did she, a dignified Triple Crown Emperor, go and participate in the Ancient Dream Altar? Wait a minute, Su Yu narrowed his eyes as he stared at Yun Qianshuang. Are you really the master of the Yun Wu Divine Mountain? Combined with the fact that she had subdued the two puppets without anyone noticing, Su Yu could not help but suspect her true identity. Yun Qianshuang giggled. Human, you should worry about yourself first. With a swoosh, she flicked her slender jade-like finger, and a jade thread shot towards Su Yu, entangling him. Su Yu did not hesitate any longer. He took out the last item on him, the scepter of the Emperor. The effect was to select a 3-crown Emperor realm existence to do one thing for him for 2 hours. In the name of the Emperor, I command you to kill Hua Hun and Ling Yun. The formless wave hit Yun Qianshuang in an instant. She retracted the jade thread that was shooting toward Su Yu, and her eyes became slightly sluggish. She said, "Yes, my Emperor." She turned and stared at Hua Hun and Ling Yun, shooting out several jade threads to take their lives. The two of them were shocked. They had never expected Su Yu to have such a strange item. Let's go. Hua Hun and Ling Yun knew how powerful Yun Qianshuang was. They did not dare to fight her head-on, and they fled on the spot. Su Yu immediately recalled the two puppets and entered the common people's realm in a flash. He appeared directly in the palace. The Empress heard the commotion and said, "The common people's chess is about to end. Mr. Su, you must have gained something, right?" "Yes. You just need to hold on for the time it takes for a joss stick to burn." The Empress nodded her snow-white chin. "That's easy. Guards, protect Mr. Su. Don't let anyone come near." Rumble. Not long after she spoke, Fu Bingyu stood in the sky above the common people's realm with a gloomy face, looking down at Su Yu. He looked at the tens of thousands of imperial guards staring at him. The moment he stepped in, he would be severely injured or even killed by their will of the common people. He was furious. He had only treated the Sword Alliance Master as his greatest enemy. He did not expect that the final victory of the common people's chess would be snatched away by an insignificant person. That was the only shortcut for him to become a 5-crown emperor. Ant of the human race. I swear that I will destroy you. Fu Bingyu was enraged. He used the ice ruler to attack from afar. Boundless cold light slanted and enveloped the entire area. The Empress shook her head in disdain. The common people's realm is where the common people's chess is. Unless the Path Master comes personally, there is nothing he can do. With a wave of her dragon robe, The wills of the Imperial Guards turned into a magnificent will that shot up into the sky. It was like a wall that sealed the entire sky. No matter how the cold light destroyed the heaven and earth, it could not shake the wall at all. Fu Bingyu attacked crazily for the time it took for an incense stick to burn, but was unable to do anything to the wall. In the end, the common people's chess entered a countdown. Su Yu. Fu Bingyu was furious. His eyes were red as he gave out a heaven-shaking roar. However, his roar was of no use. Finally, an old and majestic voice reverberated within the 49 regions of the common people's chess. Time is up. The common people's chess will end here. Instantly, heaven and earth rumbled. The sun, moon, and stars of the 49 regions rotated. The entire world within the common people's chess was changing intensely. A bright starlight shot out from each of the 49 regions. It gathered in the sky above the common people's region and turned into a person with thousands of different forms. One moment it was the ordinary people, the next moment it was the solemn and dignified emperor, and the next moment it was the cold master of heaven and earth. Su Yu understood. The Lord of heaven and earth, the emperor of heaven and earth, were just a part of the common people. The common people picture, the heaven and earth master crown, and the emperor's scepter that he obtained were all symbols. The common people included all living beings. If one thought that they were above the common people just because they were strong, they would break away from the great path of heaven and earth. Sooner or later, they would be left outside of the path, and have no chance of reaching the Path Master realm. Unfortunately, the common people's Path Master has controlled the common people's chess for billions of years. Now that it has been opened, it has finally been completed. The common people's Path Master said leisurely, "Victor, what wish do you have?" He looked towards Su Yu. Fu Bingyu's face was dark and sunken, his eyes filled with unwillingness. Hua Hun, Ling Yun, and the others who were still being chased were filled with jealousy. Only the Saint Maiden felt happy for Su Yu. He finally got what he wished for. As long as he made a wish to obtain the Emperor Killing Sword, his wish would be complete. My wish is... Su Yu looked up at the common people's Path Master, to let the royal living beings of the common people's region be freed. What? The Saint Maiden couldn't believe her ears. Su Yu went through so much trouble to obtain this chance, and he actually made such a wish? Fu Bingyu was furious. Little b*** starred. What a waste of the common people's chess heaven-sent chance. Wouldn't it have been better if it had been given to me? Hua Hun, Ling Yun, and the others found it hard to believe their ears. When Hua was even more startled. He risked his life to kill the Sword Alliance master to obtain this chance, and he made such a wish that had nothing to do with him? The Empress, who was standing behind Su Yu, her majestic face was filled with shock, astonishment, and confusion. Mr. Su, you made a wish for the common people's chess to us? The Empress opened her eyes wide and asked in disbelief. Su Yu turned his head and smiled calmly. Wasn't the reason why I was able to obtain the final victory because of your universal reverence picture and your protection now? Without her help, how could he even talk about victory? It's not like that. Our promise was that you would bring me away from the common people's region and grant me death. The Empress said hurriedly, unable to express the emotions in her heart. Su Yu looked into her eyes and said leisurely, "How sad is it to die alone? I am indebted to you, and I will repay you with a wish to help you and the members of the royal family sleeping in the ice lake be freed." He never owed favors, even if the other party was a mortal. A favor for a favor and a love for a love. As for the Emperor Killing Sword, he would think of another way. Although it might be difficult to obtain it again, at least he had no regrets in his heart. Mr. Su. The Empress was moved, and 2 lines of tears flowed down her face. She had never thought that there would be a person who would be willing to sacrifice a chance to ascend to the heavens for such a lowly being like her. Su Yu smiled and looked towards the common people's Path Master. Please grant my wish. The common people's Path Master's body turned illusionary as he said, As you wish. Instantly, the Empress's body turned ethereal, turning into threads of the common people's path, disappearing from the world and returning to true freedom. The Empress's body felt light as she kowtowed towards Su Yu. Thank you, benefactor. In the common people's realm, the frozen lake that had been frozen for 10,000 years woke up one by one. They gradually turned into the path of the common people and dispersed. They bowed deeply to Su Yu. Thank you, benefactor. Su Yu's body felt light. Although he felt a huge regret in his heart, he didn't regret it. The Saint Maiden was startled for a long time. She felt that Su Yu's actions weren't worth it, but for some reason, she was happy. She didn't misjudge him. He wasn't a cold-blooded and heartless person. Instead, he had his own sense of justice and kindness. This caused the Saint Maiden's eyes to glow. She felt that the person in front of her was more and more similar to a certain person. Su Yu, it might be hard for you to believe that I met someone like you. The Saint Maiden felt a sense of familiarity and melancholy. After the wish was made, the common people's chess ended. Next, it was time to teleport everyone out of the common people's chess. What awaited Su Yu was the encirclement of the entire Dark Star civilization. With my thoughts, I beg for Sect Master Su to have another chance to make a wish. Before the Empress disappeared, she revealed a relieved smile. With my thoughts, I grant him another wish. The members of the royal family wanted to make another wish. The touched people of the common people's region all sent out their wills, requesting for Su Yu to make another wish. They were formed from the common people's path and represented the will of the people. Many wills gathered together. It was enough to shake the remnant soul of the common people's path master. Sure. I will make an exception and grant you a second wish. Fu Bingyu's face was dark. This was possible? When Hua, the Saint Maiden, and the others all had their mouths agape. A second wish? This was too much of an exaggeration? Su Yu was pumped up and overjoyed. This was really a glimmer of hope at the end of the tunnel. State your wish. I want to get the Emperor Killing Sword. Chapter 1947. Immediately, the entire Dark Star civilization was enveloped by a powerful consciousness. From the moths to the kings of the world, they were all penetrated by this consciousness. The seemingly enormous Dark Star civilization was instantly penetrated by this powerful consciousness. In the depths of the north, within the heavenly palace, a man and a woman stood side by side in an ancient, desolate battlefield. I didn't think the Emperor Killer Sword would escape so far away. We've been on the run for an entire year. The woman in purple curled her lips and grumbled, if my cultivation was high enough, I'd definitely teach that moon-worshipping sect leader a lesson. He's really done us in. The gentle-looking man beside her let out a sigh. Senior brother is weaker than him, so there's nothing to say. However, the Dark Star civilization has been getting more and more unstable recently. Even the second-ranked palace master of the Heavenly Palace, the Feather King, was executed by the Darkness King. Just thinking about it makes me shiver. Yeah, why did the King of Darkness kill him out of anger? The man pondered for a while before his eyes flashed. He died in the moon-worshipping sect. My instincts tell me that it might be related to the moon-worshipping sect leader. That moon-worshipping sect leader really does have some ability. The woman was slightly fearful. The man nodded slightly. But that's all in the past now. Once I dig out the Emperor Killer Sword, everything will be over. He looked at the ruins beneath his feet. The remains of the experts of the ancient battlefield were buried under the ruins. He had come here through his special senses. He could feel that the Emperor Killer Sword was beneath his feet. It was also calling out to him, yearning to reunite with him. The Emperor Killer Sword. I've been searching for it for a long time. It's finally right before me. The man's eyes shone. However, at this moment, the powerful consciousness swept past, causing the man to freeze on the spot. Large droplets of sweat immediately appeared on his forehead. The consciousness was too vast. It was like a mortal standing in front of a beast hundreds of meters tall. The man did not dare to act recklessly. Fortunately, the consciousness left after sweeping past him. However, his expression changed drastically. In his senses, the Emperor Killer Sword beneath his feet sent out an urgent cry for help. However, that cry for help seemed to be suppressed and returned to normal immediately. Pop! Suddenly, the ground beneath his feet split open. A sword was pulled out by an unknown force and shot into the clouds. Emperor Killer Sword! The man got up and was about to give chase, but that consciousness swept over him again, causing his body to stiffen. He stood where he was, not daring to move, and could only watch as the Emperor Killing Sword was taken away. After a long time, that consciousness completely disappeared. The man suddenly clenched his fists, his eyes filled with grief and indignation. He had worked so hard to find the Emperor Killer Sword, but in the end, he had lost it again and again. Who dares to fight with me? The Emperor Killing Sword clearly belongs to me. The man seemed to see a formless hand of fate interfering with the chi clouds of heaven and earth, fighting for the Emperor Killing Sword. The woman comforted him gently. Senior brother, don't be anxious. The Emperor Killer Sword will not be obtained so easily. After all, apart from you, everyone else needs the scabbard to control it. No. The man's expression was ugly. The scabbard has already been taken away. If there are no accidents, the Emperor Killing Sword should be heading toward the scabbard. I lost the Emperor Killer Sword. No matter how much the man thought about it, he couldn't understand. The Emperor of Fate had clearly said that he was the Emperor chosen by the heavens, and the Emperor set was destined to belong to him. No matter how capable others were, they would not be able to compete with him. This was because it was decided by the heavens, and no one could go against it. But what was going on now? The Emperor Killer Sword had fallen into someone else's hands? Junior sister, come with me. Even if I lose the Emperor Killer Sword, I want to know who could go against the heavens and snatch my Emperor Killer Sword, the man said. The woman glanced sideways at the determined man and said, All right. Within the common people's chest. In less than 10 breaths of time, a beam of light shot over from outside, landing 30 feet in front of Suyu. A ferocious long sword that was struggling uneasily appeared in front of him. The Emperor Killer Sword. Fu Bingyu, the Saint Lady, Yun Qianshuang, Hua Hun, and Ling Yun, who had rushed over, all narrowed their eyes, revealing deep greed. The legendary ancient Dao Rain Sword, the Emperor Killer Sword. Fu Bingyu was also extremely jealous, but then she sneered. So what if you have a sword? Maybe you still don't know that the Emperor Killer Sword cannot be touched with your hands unless you can get the scabbard, right? The rest of them nodded, looking at Suyu with pity. They had worked so hard for so long, but in the end it was all for naught. Suyu stared at the Emperor Killer Sword, his eyes filled with excitement. Scabbard, appear. Creak. A black-robed figure flashed out from Suyu's 9 jade spiritual pearl. It was the real King of Darkness, the scabbard. I'll leave it to you. The King of Darkness nodded lightly, looking at the Emperor Killer Sword with a smile. It's time to return to the scabbard after millions of years. Then, a thin long crack appeared on the top of his skull, and the Emperor Killer Sword resisted, trembling lightly a few times, before disappearing into the crack. Fu Bingyu was stunned, and then his expression changed drastically. He shouted, It's you! The mysterious young man and the little beast who had saved the King of Darkness. Fu Bingyu would never forget them, even in his dreams. The King of Darkness looked at him indifferently, then returned to the 9 jade spiritual pearl, expressionless. Fu Bingyu's chest rose and fell violently, suddenly realizing that he had been deceived by Suyu from the beginning. He had trusted the Baiwa sect leader, asking him to help find the King of Darkness, but the truth was that the Baiwa sect leader was the mysterious person who had saved the King of Darkness. Now that he thought about it, the Baiwa sect leader had also set up the Feather Emperor, and used Fu Bingyu to get rid of him. He had always been the one scheming against others, no one had ever schemed against him. The only exception was the living being who was pretending to be the Baiwa sect leader. I will destroy you. Fu Bingyu's eyes were about to pop out of their sockets. Suyu was really calm. Sure, bring it on. Fu Bingyu gritted his teeth in hatred, but he looked fearfully at the remnant soul of the common people's path master. He wasn't in a rush to attack. The common people's chess has ended, and I should follow my main body. My juniors, work hard. To be born in this era is your fortune and also your tragedy. I hope that you are in time to stop. Before he finished, a sky-covering palm reached out from the darkness and smacked the remnant soul of the common people's path master. Then, it slowly retreated back into the darkness. The sudden scenes caused the hearts of all living beings to shake. They were filled with astonishment. Who is that hand? It can actually forcefully descend into the common people's path master? The remnant soul of the common people's path master was actually wiped out with one palm? What did the common people's path master want us to stop? Why did he say that being born in this era is both fortune and tragedy? Who was it who interrupted the last words that the common people's path master left us? Everyone present was shocked. Su Yu's pupils constricted. Who was the owner of that palm? It could actually cross the void and wipe out the remnant soul of the common people's path master? Did the words that the common people's path master wanted to tell us touch upon the secrets of heaven and earth? Huge waves rose up in his heart. He had heard the same words from the Taishu master. Living beings, to be born in the last era of the second era, I don't know if it is your fortune or your tragedy. What did those path master level existences know? What were they warning about? Why did they say that this was the last era of the second era? Would something happen in the Taichu realm? All sorts of questions surged into Su Yu's mind. Just as everyone was in shock, suddenly 2 white jade bones fell out from the remnant soul of the common people's path master. The jade bone exuded an earth-shattering aura. The remains of the common people's path master. Someone exclaimed. There were rumors that although the common people's path master had passed away, a portion of his remains remained within the common people's chest. Who knew that it was true? The remnant soul was able to exist for billions of years because it was attached to his remains. Joy appeared in Su Yu's eyes. From the 2 jade bones, he could feel the presence of the path master's blood. The fate dragon of the divine 9-dragon cauldron was unable to crystallize because it lacked the path master's blood. He had to get his hands on the jade bones. Space teleportation. A wine-red glow flashed in his eyes, and the 2 jade bones were instantly wrapped up by space energy. However, just as they were about to teleport, an ice-cold energy blade shattered the space teleportation. The Path Master's bones are mine, whoever dares to snatch them will die. Fu Bingyu's domineering shout swept out in all directions. Hua Hun, Ling Yun, and the saintess who were about to snatch it all hesitated. The common people's chess was about to end and they would be teleported back to the Dark Star civilization. If they offended Fu Bingyu now, wouldn't they be asking for death when they returned? Seeing that Fu Bingyu had obtained 2 jade bones, Yun Qianshuang, who was clearly being controlled by the Emperor Scepter, had a faint smile on her face. Hee, my efforts weren't in vain. I've finally found the bones of the Dao Master. She completely disregarded the Emperor Scepter's control and flew up to snatch the 2 pieces of bones. You are asking for death. Fu Bingyu slapped down with the ice ruler. Yun Qianshuang was not afraid at all and smiled. Small tricks. She took out a hairpin and threw it forward, causing the ice ruler to fly backward. Fu Bingyu was also sent flying. You are not the mountain master of the Yun Wu God Mountain. Fu Bingyu took in a deep breath and sized up Yun Qianshuang in shock. Yun Qianshuang smiled. Her dark skin faded away and returned to her flawless white skin. She was the pretty woman who had appeared at the ancient dream altar. Same to you. Aren't you also pretending to be the king of darkness? Yun Qianshuang flicked her finger and a jade thread wrapped around the two pieces of bones. Fu Bingyu was furious. Don't even think about it. The ice ruler slashed through the air and cut the jade thread in half. Yun Qianshuang's pretty face turned slightly sullen. In order to find the Path Master's bones, I went to many civilizations. If you want to fight with me, then don't blame me for being impolite. She curled her slender jade-like finger, and the aura that the hairpin gave off increased once again. It was actually comparable to the might of a 5-crown emperor. Fu Bingyu took in a deep breath and revealed a look of fear in his eyes. Who are you? That's none of your business, Yun Qianshuang said coldly. Then, she grabbed the two pieces of bones with her right hand. However, at this moment, a change occurred. A wine-red and purple light shot out from the common people's domain, covering the sky. He lowered his head and saw a pair of strange eyes, one red and one purple, shining brightly. Space-time transfer. The powerful laws of time and space intertwined and enveloped the two pieces of bones. Not good. Stop. Yun Qianshuang and Fu Bingyu knew that the situation was not good and immediately disturbed the space-time energy. Chapter 1948. Time and space changed, and the area where the Path Master's bones were located had all been transferred to the common people's region. Two pieces of jade bones floated quietly in front of Suyu. Yun Qianshuang said angrily, "Good lad, I fought so hard and now it's all yours. Give me half, and we can still talk." Suyu did not care. "Sorry, the Path Master's bones are important to me too. Hey, don't think you can do whatever you want just because my niece likes you. If you make me unhappy, I'll strip off your pants and spank you." Yun Qianshuang glared at Suyu. "Come in if you can." Suyu smiled lightly. Swish. Suddenly, the holy maiden, who had sensed that something was amiss, barged into the common people's region. Many living beings of the common people's region immediately raised their will to resist. "She is my friend," Suyu said. Only then did the holy maiden enter safely. After being saved, the holy maiden patted her chest and said bitterly, "You eat the meat and I run with you. Sigh, there's no one else like me." Suyu laughed and waved his sleeves, retrieving a rootless purple royal wood. "This is for you." The holy maiden's eyes lit up, and she exclaimed in surprise, "Rootless purple royal wood. Why didn't you take it out earlier?" "Ha ha!" Suyu laughed without saying a word. The two of them looked calm, completely disregarding Yun Qianshuang, who was grinding her teeth, and Fu Bingyu, whose face had turned purple. When Hua Hun and Ling Yun were speechless. Didn't these two know that after the common people's chess ended, everyone would be transported back to their original positions? Once they returned to the Dark Star civilization, they would have nowhere to go. It would be difficult for them to escape death. Fu Bingyu retracted his gaze and snorted. "I'll leave it with you for now. I'll take your lives later." Yun Qianshuang became relaxed and giggled. "Little lad, did you hear that? It's not too late to beg me to save your life. Of course, you have to hand over the Path Master's bones and give me the Emperor Killing Sword." Suyu ignored her and looked at the holy maiden. The latter smiled. "Let's go, the transportation is about to begin. Let's leave as soon as possible." They flashed to the imperial family's ancestral hall, and after lifting the memorial tablet and offering table, they revealed the intercivilization teleportation formation, star map, and star stones. Suyu activated it with ease, and a powerful teleportation force that transcended civilizations engulfed both of them. Yun Qianshuang was stunned. "Wait, where did you get the intercivilization teleportation formation? Hey, don't go! Don't go!" Fu Bingyu was so angry that his chest was about to explode. A mouthful of blood was stuck in his throat and he was unable to spit it out. There was actually an intercivilization teleportation formation. Where would they go to find them after leaving the Dark Star civilization? No matter how much he calculated, he didn't expect that the common people's path lord would leave an intercivilization teleportation formation. It was probably to protect the winner of the common people's chess to escape. With a flash of white light, Su Yu and the Holy Maiden were teleported away. The common people's chess began to teleport everyone back to the Dark Star civilization. Sensing the dark environment of the Dark Star civilization, Yun Qianshuang gnashed her teeth in anger. Damned human brat, I worked so hard and was just about to obtain the Path Master's bone, but you just had to take it away. I won't forgive you. Her eyes flashed as she looked in the direction of the Sea of Constellations. Don't let me see you. At the same time, a furious roar came from the Life Mountain, shaking the entire sacred mountain. The ancient sacred mountain trembled slightly, then returned to its original state. Su Yu, I swear I will turn your bones into dust. In the void, a ray of light pierced through the pitch-black void and descended upon a 2-star civilization. The huge commotion caused the entire civilization to tremble. A mountain peak was pierced through by the light and shattered on the spot. 2 figures fell out in a sorry state. Phew! The taste of intercivilization teleportation is really unbearable, the Holy Maiden said helplessly as she steadied herself. On the other side, Su Yu also steadied himself. Looking around, he said, I wonder what civilization this is? The teleportation formation doesn't have a fixed destination. It should be a random teleportation. The Holy Maiden sized up Su Yu calmly and said with a faint smile, All right, we've all left the Dark Star civilization. It's time for you to fulfill your promise. What promise? Su Yu was stunned. He then remembered that the Holy Maiden had used the 4 Crowns Emperor Grade tool to help him kill President Zhang on the condition that he reveal his true appearance. All right. After thinking for a moment, Su Yu lifted the extremely black robe and revealed a face. It wasn't Su Yu's face, but someone else's. To be on the safe side, he didn't reveal Su Yu's true appearance. The Holy Maiden stared at him with a hint of disappointment in her eyes. There were times when she had wondered if the person in front of her was Su Yu. However, it seemed that she had been overthinking. How could Su Yu have come to the great beginning realm? It's your turn. Su Yu was also very curious about the Holy Maiden's true appearance. He was quite curious about what a strange existence that could die continuously looked like. The Holy Maiden took off her white robe, revealing an ordinary human female face. Su Yu said, More ordinary than I thought. Aren't you the same? The Holy Maiden rolled her eyes at him. The Holy Maiden suppressed the disappointment in her heart and said, Where do you plan to go? The Sea of Constellations. Su Yu didn't lie. He had achieved success in his training. It was time to return to the Sea of Constellations to see if the sinful Lady Palace was still there. If it was, he would save Huang Fu Liang and the others. Oh, then we have to bid farewell. The Holy Maiden's eyes revealed a hint of loneliness. All good things must come to an end. Mr. Su, we will meet again. She took out a scroll and spread it flat on the ground. There were stars flowing on it, and it looked even more obscure than a star map. What is this? Su Yu was curious. The Holy Maiden said, This is a compressed version of the intercivilization transmission portal. Once it is activated, it can communicate with the person on the other side of the portal. He can bring me back through space with a great divine technique. Su Yu's heart skipped a beat. It was easy to say, but it was unimaginably difficult to do. The function of this transmission portal should be a simple positioning device. The powerful thing was the strong man who brought her back through space. What kind of power was it to bring someone away from another civilization? Not even the 5-crown king could do it. Holy Maiden, what did you mean when you said that it was not suitable for me to stay in the Dark Star civilization? He remembered that the Holy Maiden had solemnly warned him that it was not suitable for him to stay in the moon-worshipping cult for long. The Holy Maiden's hand paused and she said, Since you have mentioned it, I will tell you everything I know before we part. Do you know what the path of faith is? The Holy Maiden asked. In the past, Su Yu really didn't know what the path of faith was. But after talking with the Dark King, He had a certain understanding of the path of faith. It is a path of deception similar to a food chain. The upper preacher devours the power of faith of the lower preacher, and so on, until the ordinary believers. The holy maiden was slightly surprised. You know? Then what I am going to say next is much easier to understand. Yes, as you said, the moon-worshipping cult is a low-level preaching stronghold. The moon-worshipping cult leader is the preacher, and I am the supervisor, responsible for monitoring, urging, and evaluating the preacher. My evaluation can determine the preacher's promotion. Hearing this, Suyu suddenly understood. No wonder the moon-worshipping cult had a supernatural and strange existence like the Holy Maiden. It turned out that her status was far higher than the moon-worshipping cult leader. Suyu suddenly remembered something. Then, the purpose of the moon-worshipping cult leader to conquer the Dew Empire was, of course, it was to establish a low-level preaching stronghold. Unfortunately, he is dead, the Holy Maiden said. So that was it. There was a reason why the moon-worshipping cult had infiltrated the Dew Empire for hundreds of years. In theory, our organization welcomes outstanding people like you to be our new preacher, but I personally suggest that you stay away from the path of faith, the Holy Maiden said sincerely. The Saintess said sincerely, the organization that established the path of faith is extremely mysterious. According to my speculations, it's very likely that there's more than one Dowlord participating. Moreover, the participating Dowlords are mostly people of high status. For example, the Dowlord of the Ecliptic Palace is a member of our organization. Suyu's pupils shrank slightly. Even the Ecliptic Palace had been infiltrated by their organization? Then what is the purpose of your organization spreading faith everywhere? The Holy Maiden said, this is where it is mysterious. I can't see what the organization is trying to do at all. I can only guess from the meaning of our organization's name that it may be brewing a grand plan that can cover the sky. The name of your organization? Yes. It is called Nirvana. Nirvana, Suyu murmured. It was indeed a name with a profound meaning. Knowing this was enough, Suyu did not intend to get entangled with Nirvana. He said, thank you for telling me, I will stay away from Nirvana. Well then, goodbye. The Holy Maiden activated the picture scroll, and shocking waves swept in all directions. A strong will cross the boundary from the other side of the picture scroll. How efficient! The Holy Maiden said, I am going back. After a pause, the Holy Maiden stared deeply at Suyu and spoke the words that she had hidden in her heart for a long time. Do you know why I trust you so much? Suyu was also curious about this question. In the secret realm, he had wanted to kill the Holy Maiden. Because you are very much like a friend of mine. Is that so? Suyu smiled lightly. There was someone in the world who looked like him? The Holy Maiden nodded gently, and there was a trace of melancholy in her eyes. His name is Suyu, and he came from a sealed secret realm. When I first came to the Great Beginning Realm, I put up a missing person notice in the Dew Empire to look for him, hoping that he would come to the Great Beginning Realm. However, many years have passed, and there has been no news of him. I think that was wishful thinking on my part. He should still be trapped in that secret realm, running amok. The smile on Suyu's face suddenly froze. It did not matter that they had the same name, even their backgrounds were so similar. Moreover, if he remembered correctly, there were 2 missing person notices in the Dew Empire. One of them was from the princess of the previous dynasty of the Dew Empire, who had wanted Suyu. The other was a missing person notice that had been cancelled many years ago, so long ago that he had not yet come to the Great Beginning Realm. He had always been confused about this matter, and had been brooding over it. Now that he heard the Holy Maiden mention it, his pupils shrank. Who are you? Because of his excitement, Suyu had a strange look on his face. The Holy Maiden blushed and looked apologetic. I am sorry, in fact, this is not my true appearance. I lied to you. Her whole body flashed with light, and her face changed slightly. A brand new face appeared in front of him. Xing Yuanxin. Su Yu blurted out excitedly, unable to believe his eyes. The holy maiden's face froze, and her eyes widened. What did you call me? Chapter 1949. She couldn't believe her ears when the Lord of the Moon worshipping sect said her real name. Xing Yuanxin. Xing Yuanxin. Su Yu couldn't help but laugh. I see. I was wondering why you insisted on promoting Yang Tai. It turns out it was you. Saint Lady, or Xing Yuanxin to be exact. She gasped while her eyes flickered violently, and she said with shock, You know about the relationship between me and Yang Tai? Su Yu said with a smile, I know more than that. I am also your old friend. Old friend? Xing Yuanxin was completely stunned. Who the hell are you? She had a strong guess in her heart, but it was too bizarre for her to believe. With a laugh, Su Yu's appearance changed slowly. Sorry, actually I also hid my real face. Su Yu. Xing Yuanxin covered her face with her hands. Only a pair of tearful eyes could be seen. She shook her head and exclaimed, I must be dreaming. I must be. Su Yu walked forward with a smile, held her shoulders and said gently, It is me. 8 years ago, I also came to the great beginning realm. It is you. Xing Yuanxin burst into tears and threw herself into Su Yu's arms with excitement and sadness. She never dreamed that she could meet an old friend other than Yang Tai in such a remote place. Moreover, it was Su Yu, who she could never forget. Everything was like a dream. You were persecuted by the Dakini and escaped through the time and space door. I tracked you to the end of the time and space door and learned that you left the Star River Divine Realm. I have been worried about your safety. Fortunately, both of you are safe and sound. Su Yu patted her shivering back and couldn't help but sigh with emotion. He thought he would never see Xing Yuanxin again in this life. He didn't expect that fate would play tricks on him. It turned out that she had been by his side all the time. What was even more ridiculous was that he had tried to kill her several times. Xing Yuanxin burst into tears when she heard this. She let go of her sadness and grievances. She also felt that fate played tricks on people. It turned out that the person she had been missing was by her side. The most ridiculous thing was that she used to hate him and despise him. They had even almost turned against each other. Now that the truth had been revealed, he didn't know whether to laugh or cry when he recalled the past. Yuan Xin, leave the Nirvana organization and follow me from now on. I've brought all my old friends from the Star River God realm with me. You can meet them now. Xing Yuanxin was so excited that her lips were trembling. Really? Is my mother here too? Yes, the Xing deity was there too. Back then, when I pacified the Great Eastern Alliance, I saved your mother. Xing Yuanxin said, Let me see her, I miss my mother too much. She had never expected to see her mother again in this life. However, right at this moment, the shocking will of a Tao Lord suddenly swept out from the painting behind him. The strength of that will was only weaker than the remnant soul of the common people path master. Reverence Moon Saintess, return quickly. The will transformed into a gigantic heavenly hand and grabbed. Su Yu's eyes flashed, and he was about to grab the Holy Maiden and leave. However, the Holy Maiden's face turned pale. She pushed Su Yu away immediately and said anxiously, Don't fight against Nirvana. I'm fine, don't worry about me. How could he not be worried? I made a vow with Nirvana to work for them for 1,000 years. I can't leave easily. It's for my own good and for your own good, don't be rash. Su Yu clenched his fists and said, Where can I find you? Maybe we can meet again in a 6-star civilization. Xing Yuanxin was wrapped up by the gigantic hand and pulled towards the painting. She spoke quickly, and at the same time, she threw out a jade pendant. Take this with you, and when you meet me again, you won't chase after me. She laughed mockingly and was pulled into the painting by the gigantic hand. Then, the painting was torn into pieces. The aura of the Path Master also dissipated like the tide. A 6-star civilization? Su Yu stood where he was for a long time, his heart silent. Nirvana. Why would Xing Yuanxin join such a huge organization? However, Su Yu couldn't just sit back and do nothing. If there was a chance, he would definitely help Xing Yuanxin leave Nirvana. After taking a few deep breaths, Su Yu flashed to the border of the two-star civilization, only to find that the civilization here had been locked down. There were many traces of battle at the border. It seemed like it wasn't to guard against the commotion caused by Su Yu and Xing Yuanxin's arrival, but some other precaution. Standing at the border, Su Yu gazed into the void. Meteorites that were not small in size surrounded the entire civilization, and there were densely packed martial artists standing on them. All of a sudden, Su Yu's eyes were filled with surprise. On one of the larger meteors, he saw the first prince of the Empire of Du. If he was here, then what about Dongfang Xia? Taking a closer look, he saw his shadow on an inconspicuous meteor. Beside him were several Imperial Guardians, who were discussing with Dongfang Xia. Your Majesty, the Hehuan Holy Ground has colluded with the Dark Star Civilization, intending to release the evil dragon in the ruins to harm our royal family. Although they deserve to be killed, we have suffered too much damage after such a long battle. The gains do not make up for the losses. Why don't we retreat now, make proper preparations, and come back to attack the Hehuan Holy Ground again? One of the Imperial Guardians suggested. They had been attacking the Hehuan Holy Ground for several years, but the Hehuan Holy Ground had long been prepared and had built an iron wall at the border. Most importantly, the Hehuan Holy Ground had obtained a few powerful Triple Crown Emperor attack talismans from the Dark Star Civilization, which had injured Dongfang Xia several times. And because it was an away battle, the Empire of Diyu was at a disadvantage in terms of military strength and resources. After fighting for a long time, they had not been able to break through the border, causing the two sides to fall into a stalemate. Easy for you to say. We have sacrificed so many soldiers. How can we retreat just like that? Another Imperial Guardian objected. Indeed, we cannot retreat. The Empire of Diyu has just become a 3-star civilization. If we cannot even conquer a 2-star civilization that has betrayed us, will the other 2-star civilizations surrender to us? The few Imperial protectors spoke one after another, each of them sticking to their own opinions. Dongfang Xia pondered for a long time, then slowly said, Everyone, there is no need to argue. We cannot retreat. I, Dongfang Xia, have not been betrayed, and yet I have to swallow my anger. But such a reckless attack will not help. We need to think about it further. Think about it further? Where should they start? Now that they were in a stalemate, unless someone could help them blast open the border from within the Hehuan Holy Ground. But this was impossible. Boom! Suddenly, there was a shocking commotion at the border of the Hehuan Holy Ground. The border blockade, which could be called an impenetrable wall, had a huge gap smashed open by some kind of boundless power. Several Imperial Guardians with single crowns and one Imperial Guardian with double crowns were blasted out of the border. The sudden unexpected event caused the Diyu dynasty to be unable to help but be stunned. The Imperial Guardian with double crowns that was blasted out should be the strongest expert of the Hehuan civilization, the Divine Lord Hehuan, right? Who could have sent him flying? Dongfang Xia was stunned for a moment, then his eyes flashed. Quickly send troops and tear open the gap. The Imperial Guardians could not believe that the border that they had attacked for several years to no avail had been torn open so inexplicably. Under their command, the army of the Empire of Diyu surged in like a tide, quickly controlling the border and marching into the interior of the civilization. Conquering the Hehuan civilization was only a matter of time. Dongfang Xia took the lead and chased after the Divine Lord Hehuan. For some reason, the Divine Lord Hehuan had lost his space storage device and no longer had any powerful talismans. Not long after, he was captured by Dongfang Xia. Holy Lord Joyful Union, you've finally fallen into my hands. Dongfang Xia smiled proudly. The divine Lady Huan wiped the blood from the corner of her mouth, her eyes full of sorrow. I underestimated you. You could actually send 2 Imperial Guardians to the Huan civilization through inter-civilization transportation. Dongfang Xia was stunned. 2 Imperial Guardians? He had just broken through to the Imperial Guardians. How could he know 2 of them? Seeing Dongfang Xia's strange expression, the Divine Lord Huan said, "Those 2 Imperial Guardians said they were returning a favor. Don't tell me you don't know them." Dongfang Xia was stunned. He did not remember doing favors for the Imperial Guardians, and there were 2 of them. He could not help but ponder. Who was it? Who was helping him in secret? The mysterious person, he could not understand, had already taken advantage of the invasion of the army to silently ride a meteorite into the boundless void. With a wave of his hand, Su Yu kept the 2 Imperial Guardians puppets. After confirming that the meteorite was heading towards the Sea of Constellations, he took out 2 pieces of jade bone. The thick blood of the Path Master rushed towards him. "Phew! Before I reach the Sea of Constellations, I will try my best to crystallize the Dragon of Destiny. Finally, I will comprehend the Fate Law. That way, I can use the 6 Paths Law to break through to become a divine warrior of heaven and earth." Su Yu's eyes were filled with anticipation. After many years of preparation, everything was finally ready. He could begin to break through to become a divine warrior of heaven and earth. Taking a light breath, Su Yu took out a drop of the Path Master's blood from one of the jade bones. Then, he slammed his palm on the top of his head, and the divine 9-dragon cauldron fell into Su Yu's palm. I wonder how much the blood of the common people's Path Master can crystallize the Dragon of Destiny. Su Yu flicked his sleeves and inserted the precious drop of blood into the divine 9-dragon cauldron. Instantly, the 1/3 crystallized Dragon of Destiny completely crystallized, as if it had come to life. It left the divine 9-dragon cauldron and flew a few circles around Su Yu excitedly. Su Yu had some understanding. He slowly spread out his hands. A formless mirror appeared in his left hand, and a quiet curved blade appeared in his right. Double Fate Mirror, Life Cutter Blade. This time, when the energy crystallized, he obtained 2 abilities at the same time. One was the Double Fate Mirror. As the saying went, the broken mirror was reunited, which meant the restoration of destiny. The other was the Life Cutter Blade. It was used to cut off all deformed destinies. Interesting. Although it isn't an offensive type, it involves destiny. If used properly, it is far better than offensive methods. Su Yu's eyes were sharp, and he immediately discovered the use of these 2 abilities. The Dragon of Destiny had completely crystallized, and he could start to comprehend the destiny law to the upper class. With a flash of light, Su Yu summoned the King of Darkness. The King of Darkness looked at Su Yu and said in surprise, "Did you cultivate some special divine technique? I feel like there is a layer of mystery on your body that prevents me from looking into it." It should be because his destiny had become ethereal, and it wasn't easy for others to grasp it. Can you control the Emperor Killing Sword to release the Tao Rain? It was really difficult to comprehend the 8 great laws without the help of the Tao Rain. The King of Darkness nodded. "Easy. Prepare to receive it." Instantly, the Emperor Killing Sword rushed out of the King of Darkness' body and circled above Su Yu's head. Golden Tao Rain fell. The Tao Rain was prepared for Su Yu alone, and it was extremely dense. Chapter 1950. Su Yu sat cross-legged and seized the time to absorb the Path Rain. When the Path Rain was over, the number of raindrops collected by Su Yu was more than the previous 2 times combined. All in one go, Su Yu closed his eyes and started to comprehend the Death Rule and Fate Rule. The former had been condensed to 50%, and the latter had not yet begun. Even the vast nothingness could not stop the river of time that flowed like water. 1 month later, Su Yu slowly opened his eyes, and 6 different lights flashed in his eyes. With the help of such a rich Path Rain, everything went smoothly. The death rule and the fate rule had been condensed to perfection. Now, on the divine nine-dragon cauldron, the 6 crystallized rules had all been condensed to perfection. In fact, once any of the rules had been condensed to perfection, one could open the Emperor's Gate and try to become a world divine warrior. However, once one became a world divine warrior, he could no longer condense new rules, so Su Yu had been restraining himself until today, when he completely comprehended the 6 rules. I can start to break through the Emperor's Gate. Will it be particularly difficult to open all 6 rules? Su Yu's eyes were full of expectation. Half a day later, Su Yu, who had adjusted his state, slammed his palm into the inner mansion. The rules in his body vibrated and flew out, turning into an ancient stone gate covered with smoke and dust in the sky above his head. The stone gate was thousands of square meters long and wide, stretching across the void. Its whole body was surrounded by purple smoke and dust, vaguely resembling the gate of the fairyland. The moment it appeared, the smoke and dust on its body, with the stone gate as the center, rolled rapidly in all directions, like a tsunami. In an instant, the endless void was covered by a layer of rolling purple smoke and dust. From small ants to strong creatures, everyone could feel the presence of the purple smoke and dust. In the constellation sea, a huge meteorite floated over the constellation sea, its huge shadow shrouding the constellation sea. Among the meteorite, dozens of beautiful women in fairy clothes were forming a circle, continuously instilling the power of desolation into something. Suddenly, a woman in the middle emitted a hazy golden light, and her whole face was hidden under the golden light, making it impossible to see clearly. If Su Yu was here, he would definitely recognize her. She was the 3-crown emperor-level strong man who came to the constellation sea and suppressed many emperors in the constellation sea with one finger. She was the little temple master of the sinful lady palace. Suddenly, the young hall master opened his eyes and looked in a certain direction with slight surprise. The Emperor's Gate's law cloud dust? Visible to the naked eye, a tsunami-like purple smoke rolled over, howling and drowning the huge meteorite. Everything in the sky and on the ground was drowned in the purple smoke. The purple smoke was the cloud of worldly laws. It would only leak out when the Emperor's door appeared. Someone has broken through to become a world emperor? The young palace master looked at the clouds in shock. Isn't the density of these clouds a little too abnormal? Even when I broke through to the Emperor realm all those years ago, I didn't have such a huge cloud of dust. The density of the clouds depended on the strength of the laws of the person breaking through. The stronger the law, the denser the clouds that appeared. She had never seen such a thick cloud of dust. Looks like the law this person cultivates is very close to one of the 8 great laws. The young palace lord murmured, I didn't expect that such a talented expert would be born in the barren desolation region. On the other side, a man and a woman stepped on a meteor, speeding towards the sea of constellations. Suddenly, the man narrowed his eyes and said, Someone is breaking through to the Emperor realm. Senior brother, how did you know? Look, that's the cloud of dust that appeared at the Emperor's door. However, in the empty sky, endless purple smoke rolled over and quickly engulfed them. The girl said, What's so great about being a world emperor? When senior brother was in the Dew Empire, you already had the strength to fight against a single world emperor. The man's eyes flashed as he shook his head and said, There are differences between world emperors. I might be able to fight against an ordinary world emperor, but in front of a powerful world emperor, I probably won't be able to fight back. For example, the cloud of dust in front of us is really amazing. The girl blinked her eyes. Is he very powerful? He's very powerful. The man said slowly, This person's laws must be very profound. We should take a detour and not interfere with his breakthrough. Otherwise, it will be bad if there is a misunderstanding. The girl pouted helplessly. Senior brother spent all his star stones to get here. We can't let him get away just because we took a detour. Don't worry. I have an indelible connection with the Emperor Killer Sword. Unless he keeps running, I will catch up to him sooner or later. At the same time, on another meteor, Yun Qianshuang drove the meteor through the nebula and headed straight for the Sea of Constellations. Auntie, why are you so stingy? Brother Handsome stole the Taoist master's bone, so why don't you just take it back? Why do you have to take it back? A bored, silly girl was lying on the meteor, yawning as she spoke. Yun Qianshuang was annoyed. It's not as easy as you say. Haven't we suffered a lot just to find a Taoist master's bone? Their purpose for appearing on the ancient dream altar was also for the Taoist master's bone. Unfortunately, the faceless Buddha didn't leave his remains in the mortal realm. That's right. Can't you just let him have it because Brother Handsome is so handsome? You love-struck fool. Yun Qianshuang glared at her. If I knew this would happen, I would have left you sleeping on Cloud Mist God Mountain. I will do it myself. As she spoke, Yun Qianshuang seemed to have sensed something and let out a soft gasp. What a coincidence. Someone is breaking through to the World Emperor realm. The girl said blankly, Oh! It doesn't seem like an ordinary breakthrough. Such a thick cloud of dust is a little exaggerated, Yun Qianshuang said. The purple smoke and dust from afar blew in their faces and engulfed them. The girl said, It's really exaggerated. Such a thick cloud of dust is rarely seen in records. It seems like it's a powerful creature who has comprehended the great law, Yun Qianshuang concluded immediately. It just so happens that it's still on our way. Maybe we can catch up and greet it. Suyu, who was the person involved, stared at the giant purple door in front of him with a nervous look in his eyes. It was said that the Emperor's door could only be opened once. If it wasn't opened, no living being would be able to step into the Emperor realm. He tried to gather the desolation power that was unique to half a martial emperor and bombarded the stone door. Creak. Unexpectedly, the Emperor's door opened with a creak. Suyu was stunned. That's not right. It is said that the Emperor's door is very difficult to open. It usually requires several days of continuous bombardment. How could it be so easy? As he pondered, endless halos gushed out of the open giant door and descended upon Suyu's body. All of a sudden, Suyu felt that his inner mansion was filled with unparalleled power and was expanding rapidly. A moment later, Suyu felt that his inner mansion was swelling and tearing, as if it was about to explode. He took a light breath but endured it without batting an eyelid. He understood that this was a necessary experience to break through to the divine warrior of heaven and earth. What was the divine warrior of heaven and earth? The heaven and earth referred to was not the heaven and earth of the outside world, but the world within the body. Reaching the divine warrior of heaven and earth meant that the body would undergo a qualitative transformation. From a mortal body, it would become the incarnation of heaven and earth. Only then could one be called the divine warrior of heaven and earth. Boom! The inner mansion didn't last long before it exploded with a loud bang. It was like when Pangu created the world, the old narrow space was broken, and a new, huge world was created in the chaos. An inner space comparable to a cavern world appeared in Suyu's body, forming a world of its own. The world was chaotic. There was no spiritual energy, no divine energy, no mountains, rivers, and no living creatures. Everything was a quiet world covered by purple clouds. The mysterious energy didn't stop there. It continued to pour into Suyu's inner world and gradually settled into a pure desolation energy. Half a day later, in the inner world, the primitive power was full and overflowed into Suyu's body. Suyu stepped on the tip of his foot, and the primitive power overflowed. The same move in the past was now more than twice as powerful. The transformation of power was secondary to the divine warrior level. The most important thing was that he had the chain of rules. Suyu's heart moved, and a purple chain of rules appeared in his palm. Purple? Suyu was slightly surprised. He had seen many chain of rules, but they were all black. The only red chain he had seen was the Mother of Rules, the chain of the heavenly law. It was the first time Su Yu had seen a purple chain. In any case, Su Yu had finally crossed the threshold of the divine warrior of heaven and earth and became a divine warrior with a single crown. When he used the great desolation force, a faint shadow of a crown could be seen floating above his head. Phew! It's too smooth. Su Yu couldn't help but mutter. He had thought that there would be unexpected obstacles for the body of the 6 paths of rules to break through to the divine warrior of heaven and earth. He didn't expect it to be so smooth. At this time, the stone door that had been blasted open gradually dissipated and disappeared without a trace. Just as Su Yu was about to turn around and leave, a wine-red cloud suddenly appeared behind him and engulfed him in an instant. Su Yu looked back and couldn't help but be surprised. Where the purple stone door disappeared, a wine-red stone door appeared. In terms of size, it was twice as large as the purple stone door just now. The second gate of the Emperor? Su Yu was stunned. Based on his understanding of breaking through to the divine warrior level, no matter how many rules were cultivated at the same time, there was usually only one gate of the Emperor. How could there be a second one? While he was stunned, the world in his body that had not yet taken shape showed signs of instability. No way? Do I have to break the second gate of the Emperor, or the world in my body will collapse? Su Yu couldn't help but become serious. What kind of joke was this? It was not easy to break through to the divine warrior of heaven and earth. How could his cultivation fall back to the overlord level? With some doubts, Su Yu exerted the primitive power, exerted the strength of a divine warrior with a single crown, and bombarded the wine-red stone door. Crack! The wine-red stone door barely opened a gap. Su Yu bombarded it a few more times, and the wine-red stone door was completely open. Another mysterious force descended and poured into Su Yu's inner world. The inner world was suddenly filled with a huge mysterious force, and another explosive change occurred. With a sharp pain, the inner world was torn apart and doubled in size. This is a middle-stage divine warrior with a single crown? Su Yu was secretly surprised. At the same time, a second chain of rules appeared in the inner world. It was a wine-red chain of rules. Purple, wine-red, it can't be? An incredible thought popped into Su Yu's mind, and his heart sank. He stared at the wine-red stone door. When it dissipated, a white stone door appeared. It was twice the size of the wine-red door. Chapter 1951. When the body of the 6 paths of law broke through to the divine warrior of heaven and earth, there was not just one gate of the Emperor that appeared, but 6. The first 2 were the gate of the Emperor of the time and space laws. Now, there was the gate of the Emperor of the soul law. And, as expected, the strength of this gate. He tried to blast it with the single crown Emperor, but the gate did not budge. Su Yu took out the Tianyi bow and shot the double crown Emperor at the white gate of the Emperor. Ding! The gate of the Emperor trembled, but did not open. It was not until Su Yu shot 10 arrows in a row that a slit finally opened, but it could not open again. Su Yu had no choice but to use the royal dragon sword to blast it open with an attack close to the triple crown Emperor. A mysterious power leaked out, doubling the size of the world inside, and a third chain appeared. Its cultivation had reached the late stage of the single crown Emperor. But Su Yu was not happy at all, because after the white gate of the Emperor disappeared, an even larger emerald gate of the Emperor appeared. This was the gate of the law of life. If he was right, the difficulty of blasting it open was very likely that it would require a triple crown Emperor. He attacked with the royal dragon sword, but the gate did not budge. His heart sank to the bottom of the valley. Even if this gate was blasted open, there were still the gates of the law of death and the law of fate. The former might require a quadruple crown Emperor, and the latter the attack of a 5-crown Emperor. How could Su Yu, with his current strength, blast open the last gate? If he could not, his breakthrough to the divine warrior of heaven and earth would be a complete failure. His cultivation would fall back to the level of an overlord, and he would never be able to break through to the divine warrior of heaven and earth again in this life. The seriousness of the situation was beyond his expectations. Others also felt the seriousness of the situation. In the sea of constellations, the young master suddenly stood up, staring into the distance in shock. The purple cloud had not yet faded, and then came the wine-red cloud. The two fused together, and a white cloud appeared, followed by an emerald cloud. The four-colored cloud shrouded the world, deeply shocking the young master. Who is breaking through to the divine warrior of heaven and earth? Why would there be such a strange cloud dust? Even when the young master broke through to the divine warrior of heaven and earth, there was no such phenomenon, right? The young master pondered for a moment. In the void, the men and women on the meteorite were extremely surprised. Four-colored cloud? What kind of divine being was breaking through? Or could it be that there are four overlords who have simultaneously cultivated powerful laws of nature breaking through to the emperor realm of heaven and earth? The man said in surprise. The woman was also extremely shocked. Such a huge cloud is rarely seen even in 10,000 years. It's already rare for it to appear once, let alone four of them appearing at the same time. How small is the probability? On another meteorite, Yun Qianshuang's expression was extremely grave. 4 streaks of dust. Could it be that a group of people are trying to break through to the Emperor of Heaven and Earth? But is it possible for a group of overlords with powerful laws to gather together? The adorably silly young girl was also dumbfounded. How strange. 4 colored clouds. I've never heard of such a strange thing before. Could it be the sacred mortal physique that once appeared briefly in the Sea of Constellations? Yun Qianshuang finally recalled that the phenomenon of a sacred mortal body had once appeared in the Sea of Constellations. If it was him, it might be possible. Then I want to see this saint physique. Yun Qianshuang's eyes lit up. What kind of existence was the sacred mortal body? That was a saint-level character that even the 9-star civilizations could not rope in. If he could befriend him, there would be endless benefit. In front of the stone door, with a heavy heart, Su Yu summoned a white emperor puppet. The white emperor puppet of the 3-crowned divine warrior punched the jade door, causing it to tremble. With a creak, a crack appeared. Under the continuous bombardment, it took an entire day before the door was finally blasted open. A mysterious power was instilled in Su Yu's inner world, pushing it to a higher level of transformation. The aura of his cultivation level had reached the early stage of the double-crowned divine warrior. But Su Yu could not bring himself to be happy. Because the 5th emperor door had appeared, a giant, pitch-black door. This door spanned hundreds of millions of feet. In front of it, Su Yu was as small as a speck of dust. Under Su Yu's control, the white emperor puppet's all-out attack had only caused the giant door to tremble. It did not even crack open. Am I going to stop here? Su Yu was extremely unwilling. Was Xia Jingyu safe when she returned to the goddess clan? Qin Xianer had been brought to the Azura world. What was her situation now? And was Zhuji, who had gone to the sinful lady palace to avenge him, safe and sound? He had planned to increase his strength while searching for them. But now everything had been for naught. I don't believe it. Su Yu summoned the other puppet as well. The 2 puppets attacked at the same time, causing the giant door to tremble even more violently. There was no sign of it opening. Pow! But Su Yu did not give up. He tore the dragon-shaped necklace off his chest and imbued it with the power of the emperor. Suddenly, the attack of the 3-crowned divine warrior, Dongfang Xia, and the 2 white emperor puppets attacked the stone door together. Creak! Under the combined attack of the 3, a hair-thin crack appeared on the stone door. But that was it. As the attack of the dragon-shaped necklace weakened, the crack that had been opened with great difficulty slowly closed up again. Su Yu gritted his teeth. He pulled out the 4 chains of law that he had just formed and attacked the stone door at the same time. Creak! The stone door made a light sound, and a crack the width of a finger was blasted open. The power of the 4 chains of law was extraordinary. It was even stronger than the combined power of the three-crowned divine warriors. Su Yu clenched his teeth and continued to attack with the chains. For 7 or 8 days, Su Yu did not stop. The desolate power in his body was being consumed at an alarming rate, but Su Yu did not have a chance to rest. Otherwise, the stone door would immediately close up again. Most importantly, the world in his body was already collapsing on a large scale. If he did not break it open, his breakthrough would be a failure. Enduring the pain of his world collapsing, Su Yu forcibly extracted the desolate power in his body, which was about to dry up, and bombarded the door with the chains of law. Strand after strand. Finally, on the 10th day, when the last strand of desolate power in Su Yu's body was exhausted, the emerald door of the divine warrior finally opened. His arms, which were holding the chains, were badly mutilated by the desolate power because he had overused them. They were swollen to the size of a bowl. His entire body had been hollowed out, and he was extremely exhausted. His eyes were bloodshot. Boom! A mysterious power surged in, replenishing the desolate power. At the same time, Su Yu's cultivation base was pushed to the middle stage of the double-crowned divine warrior. With the help of this power, Su Yu quickly healed his body. When the power dissipated, his body returned to its peak condition. However, after the emerald door dissipated, a huge blue door that covered the sky appeared in front of him. That was the 6th door, the door of destiny. Su Yu tried to bombard it with 5 chains of law. As a result, the giant blue door did not move at all. 4 chains of law were able to blast the emerald door to the width of a finger. 5 chains of law could not even shake the door. Su Yu suddenly felt powerless and desperate. All his attacks had been exhausted, and he had reached his limit. The 6th door could not be shaken at all. Staring at his hands, Su Yu's heart was filled with great rebelliousness. He just wanted to obtain absolute power to protect the people he wanted to protect. That was his wish. But such a simple wish, did he have to give up halfway? With a low roar, he bombarded the stone door with 5 chains. For 7 consecutive days and 7 nights, the giant blue door stood indifferently and did not move. It was like the distant, silent sky, giving people endless depression and despair. Su Yu's power was exhausted, and he had no physical strength. At this moment it was difficult to move his fingers. Lying powerlessly on the meteorite, staring at the blue stone door, he looked up to the sky and let out a silent cry of unwillingness. At this moment, his inner world had collapsed, and it was collapsing at an even faster speed. In less than 2 hours it might completely collapse. But he had no other way. He could only watch as his inner world was destroyed. Everything he had worked so hard until now would be in vain. Moreover, his martial path would come to a halt and could no longer move forward. Just like many half-step martial emperors who had failed to break through, they would waste their lives. But I am not willing, Su Yu said to himself, his emotions surging. Seeing that his inner world had collapsed to the last edge, Su Yu cried out in despair. His body could not move, but his soul could. Swish! His soul suddenly left his body and slammed into the stone door. Open for me! Even his powerful physique couldn't shake the Emperor's gate, let alone a weak soul? He was just a trapped beast in despair, making a final, hopeless struggle. However, to his disbelief, the moment his soul collided with the gate of the Emperor, the blue stone gate that covered the sky suddenly trembled, and a crack the width of a person appeared. Su Yu was stunned. His soul was knocked open? Staring at the opening stone door in disbelief, Su Yu's mind went blank. Even the soul of a 5-crown martial emperor could not shake this door. His soul strength was only comparable to a 3-crown martial emperor. How could it have shaken it? All of a sudden, he discovered that a faint golden light flashed across his soul. This is... Su Yu's mind roared, and he immediately remembered where the golden light came from. The soul path fragment. The second time he entered, after the light screen of the ancient oil lamp dissipated, it turned into broken fluorescent light and integrated into his soul, adding a golden light spot to his soul divine crystal. At that time, Suyu asked the Taishu master what the golden light spot was. The Taishu master answered, the soul path fragment. When Suyu wanted to continue to understand, the Taishu master told him to find the answer himself. Suyu had long forgotten the existence of the soul path fragment. He never thought it would appear again. The blue stone door was shaking, and it must be because of the soul path fragment. His desperate heart was rejuvenated. He tried to use his soul to hit the door, but the giant door was knocked open again. Ah! There is always a way out. Suyu could not help but laugh, and he continued to hit the door in ecstasy. Just 2 days later, there was a loud bang, and the giant blue door finally opened completely. A mysterious power far greater than the previous 5 doors combined flowed into Suyu's body, repairing the collapsing inner world and making it double in size. The intense pain did not diminish the crazy smile on Suyu's face. Instead, it made him laugh. The inner world expanded like never before, and it quickly stabilized, no longer showing any signs of collapse. At the same time, the 6th chain was formed, intertwining with the other 5 chains. His cultivation also skyrocketed, reaching the late stage of the 2-crown martial emperor. Although Suyu was covered in blood and looked battered, his face was full of a heroic smile. Chapter 1952. His many years of hard work had not been in vain. Suyu exhaled deeply. He suddenly felt that the world was vast and he could roam freely. What he did not know was that on a meteorite that was speeding towards him from afar, the young master looked up at the blue stone gate that covered the sky in shock. Is this the Emperor's Gate? Who could possibly shake this Emperor's Gate? Even the legendary stone-born Son of Heaven could not break it. However, the reality was that the blue stone gate had already been opened. The young master fell into boundless shock, unable to extricate himself for a long time. Similarly shocked were a pair of senior brother and junior sister, as well as a pair of aunt and niece. The blue stone gate that covered the sky shocked their souls like never before. As the person involved, Suyu let out a long sigh, looked around, and immediately flew away from this place. Such a huge commotion must have alerted many people. Several days later, the young master, the senior brother and junior sister, as well as the aunt and niece, arrived one after another. Apart from the lingering dust, there was no trace of the person who had broken through. It seems like we came too late. He has already gone far away, Yun Qianshuang sighed regretfully. It's our fate that we missed out on such a sacred mortal body. Let's continue looking for that lad Suyu. I can sense that he's nearby. At the edge of the constellation C, on an ordinary meteorite, Suyu stood with his hands clasped behind his back. Looking at the giant meteorite that was as large as the constellation C, floating in the sky, Suyu's eyes were filled with doubt. The people of the Sinful Lady Palace are still in the constellation C? He had come here with the attitude of just in case. He did not expect that the people of the Sinful Lady Palace were still in the constellation C. Did they have some ulterior motive? As he pondered, Suyu activated the communication jade pendant. Several days later, a meteorite flew over, and on it was an old man with a goatee. 5 years ago, he had accepted Suyu's order to go to the constellation C to find out about the Sinful Lady Palace. According to the initial plan, once he had found out, he would go to the Dark Star civilization. The whole process was estimated to take 5 years. Unexpectedly, the Baiwa sect master had come in person, saving the old man 5 years' time. Greetings, sect master. The old man with the goatee immediately came forward to pay his respects. Suyu waved his hand. No need for formalities. Tell me what you have found. Yes. The old man with the goatee immediately said, I came to the Sea of Constellations a year ago. As far as I know, ever since I first arrived on this fallen star that houses the sinful maiden palace, I have never left it. This subordinate once snuck in and investigated, and discovered that they were activating an extremely ancient formation. It has been nearly 10 years since then. Ancient array formation? Suyu looked pensive. What kind of ancient formation was there in the Sea of Constellations that was worth the sinful girl palace spending 10 years to activate? He recalled that the sinful lady palace's target in the Sea of Constellations was Suyu, right? Did he discover something along the way? Where is that ancient formation? Suyu asked. The goateed elder said, It's in the Sword Pavilion's territorial waters. I've already confirmed the location. Take me there? Suyu frowned slightly. He had a bad feeling that the sinful maiden palace's scheme was not a small matter. Not long after, in the Sword Pavilion Sea region, the familiar aura of the sea greeted him. Back then, when he came to the great beginning realm from the Taudai cage, he had met the fallen young master of the Shui family in the Sword Pavilion Sea region and impersonated him. Suyu sighed with emotion as he revisited this place. With his speed, the Sword Pavilion Sea region, which would have taken him a month to cross in the past, was like a small pond now. He crossed half of it in a few breaths. Suyu stopped at a barren sea region. Sea beasts ran amok here, and not many people came here voluntarily. Hence, very few people came here. At this moment, in this sea region, there was a giant ancient formation with a diameter of 1,000 feet. It projected a shadow from the bottom of the sea and floated on the surface of the water. The ancient formation was extremely complicated, and Suyu had seen many powerful ancient formations. However, none of them could compare to the complexity of this formation. Inscriptions floated above the ancient formation, and any one of them was more complicated than the entire formation of the Four-Crown Emperor. There were no less than 10,000 inscriptions on it. At this moment, a beam of light filled with the power of desolation was projected from the fallen star overhead. The beam of light poured into the ancient formation, causing it to start rotating slowly. Does the sinful maiden palace plan to activate this formation together? Suyu was deep in thought. You wait here, I'll be back soon. He looked up, and his figure disappeared like a shuttle. When he reappeared, he appeared directly on the fallen star. Moreover, he did not deliberately hide his aura. Several divine warriors of heaven and earth, who were forming a circle and instilling divine energy into the formation, frowned. One of them, a beautiful middle-aged woman, frowned even more. This aura seems familiar. Among them, a girl in purple raised her eyebrows and said, Continue, don't stop. I'll go and see what's going on. As she was about to go out, a sudden yin and yang aura appeared. A silver-haired young man appeared from it with his hands clasped behind his back. He looked like a mortal fairy, and his temperament was calm. The ice crystal crown on his head reflected the light. You are. The girl in purple stared at the intruder and could not believe her eyes. Suyu. Wasn't the person sent by the sinful maiden palace to kill Suyu? She never expected that Suyu would dare to appear in the fallen star of the sinful maiden palace after escaping for so many years. The beautiful woman also recognized Suyu and said in surprise, It's you. Only one person knew how to use the advanced yin-yang wings of Supreme Pole. Suyu. Suyu stared at the beautiful woman with a strange expression. Brother Huangfu, I trust you have been well since we last met. When he was captured by the young palace master, he was forced to consume a holy pill, which transformed him from a 7-foot-tall man into a woman. Suyu still felt strange when he thought about it. The beautiful woman, no, it was Huangfu Liang, who looked embarrassed. Then, she said, Why are you here? Go. Her figure flashed and stood in front of Suyu, blocking the girl in purple who was looking at them coldly. Huangfu Liang, how dare you? How dare you betray the sinful maiden palace? The girl in purple was the right-hand woman of the young palace master. She said calmly, If you had hidden Su Yu, we wouldn't have bothered to look for you. But since you have come to us, Huang Fu Liang, I'll give you a chance to make up for your mistake. Destroy his cultivation and imprison him. Huang Fu Liang complained in his heart. Why did Su Yu come back? Moreover, he did it in such a big way that he couldn't help even if he wanted to. The holy pill was not only a transformation drug, it was also a control drug. If he went against the sinful lady palace, the consequences would be dire. Su Yu looked at the girl in purple. I remember you are called Ziguan, right? Back then, this woman had chased him to the point where he had nowhere to go. Ziguan pursed her lips and said indifferently, Since you have come back, there is no need to leave. Stay here forever. After saying this, she ignored Huang Fu Liang and flicked her finger. The power of the double-crowned divine warrior surged forward. Su Yu's expression was calm. He stomped on the ground. The power of a peak double-crowned divine warrior surged forward like a huge wave. Ziguan's expression changed. A late-stage double-crowned divine warrior? How is that possible? Back then, Su Yu was just a small silver overlord. It had only been 10 years, but he had become a late-stage double-crowned divine warrior. She almost thought she had mistaken him for someone else. Huang Fu Liang was equally shocked. As a double-crowned divine warrior, he understood how difficult it was to break through to the divine warrior realm. To become a double-crowned divine warrior in a short 10 years, such a cultivation speed was unparalleled. Nothing is impossible, Su Yu calmly said. His figure was like an illusion as he instantly teleported in front of Ziguan. Ziguan bit her teeth. Don't be too proud. A chain appeared in her palm and she shot it toward Su Yu. The chain of law? Su Yu blinked his eyes. A purple chain of law appeared in his palm as well. With a light wave, the two met in the air. At once, Ziguan's chain of law cracked and shattered upon impact. Hiss! Huang Fu Liang gasped. How powerful was Su Yu's chain of law to be able to easily shatter someone else's chain of law? The rest of the people also gasped. Ziguan's chain of law was damaged. Her face was pale. What are you waiting for? Let's kill this man together. Of the single-crowned divine warriors present, only 7 or 8 were from the sinful lady palace. The rest were forced to swallow the holy elixir. They did not dare disobey Ziguan's order. But before they could move, Su Yu's finger lightly pointed toward the sky. Space freeze. At once, everyone present was frozen by an invisible space, unable to move, including Ziguan. How did you become so powerful? Ziguan stared deeply at Su Yu. Su Yu did not say a word. His fingertip touched Ziguan's forehead and immediately searched her soul. A moment later, Su Yu's eyes trembled. You opened the channel between the Tao Tai's cage and the great beginning realm? The news Su Yu received surprised him. That ancient channel was not anything else. It was the ancient channel that Hu Shaodai had used to come to the great beginning realm from the Tao Tai's cage. It was unknown who had set it up, but if it was opened, it could certainly connect the two realms. And their purpose was very clear. They wanted to release the sinful lady. What shocked them was that 3 years ago, the sinful woman had sent a message from inside and contacted them. She had opened the channel on the other side of the Tao Tai's cage. In less than 5 years, the channel would be completely opened. 3 years had passed, and there were only 2 years left before the opening of the channel entered its final stage. Knowing this, Su Yu broke out in a cold sweat. Fortunately, he was worried about the sinful lady palace and had come to investigate. Otherwise, the sinful lady would have escaped. With a cold look in his eyes, Su Yu crushed the formation that had gathered the power of desolation with 1 foot. The ancient formation lost the power of desolation. The light and shadow of the ancient formation that was projected onto the sea gradually dissipated and finally stopped operating. Su Yu heaved a sigh of relief. He looked at Ziguan with a cold look. It's useless. Ziguan's face was pale, and his eyes were filled with pity. When the little palace master returns, he will reopen the ancient formation. The sinful lady will be born sooner or later. Just wait to be killed by the sinful lady. There was only a hint of panic on Su Yu's face. Instead, he smiled meaningfully. Then, I will discuss it with your little palace master face to face. Not only did he not escape, but he also sat on the throne of the little palace master. Chapter 1953. The rest of the emperors also urged, yes, quickly escape. They could not understand where Su Yu's confidence in negotiating with the young palace master came from. With the young palace master's methods, the first thing she would do upon seeing Su Yu was kill him. No matter, I believe that the young palace master is a reasonable person, Su Yu calmly said. If she was reasonable, would she force them to swallow the holy elixir and turn them into members of the sinful lady palace? Seeing that they were anxious and wanted to continue persuading him, Su Yu slowly closed his eyes and sealed off his senses. Huang Fu Liang stomped his feet anxiously. After Su Yu became the double crown emperor, his confidence had swelled to the point of wanting to negotiate with the triple crown emperor. In his memory, Su Yu should have been a very cautious person. How could he be so reckless and muddle-headed now? Chief Cabinet Master, we were hoping that Su Yu could bring us away, but now it looks like there is no hope for him. One of the emperors from the Sea of Constellations creased his brows. Back then, I was amazed by his intelligence, but now it looks like I am greatly disappointed. Huang Fu Liang was speechless. Su Yu was indeed too arrogant. Zi Guan sneered indifferently. He really didn't know his place. Half a day later, a powerful aura enveloped the meteorite. Everyone's expressions changed. The young palace master had returned. Whoosh! The young palace master appeared in the room. Seeing that everyone was motionless, she raised her brows. Why did you stop? Zi Guan was pleasantly surprised, while Huang Fu Liang and the others had gloomy expressions. It's over. Suddenly, the young palace master glanced at her throne and saw a familiar yet unfamiliar figure sitting on it. She was stunned, then shocked. Su Yu! She could not believe her eyes. Su Yu, who had escaped, had returned and was sitting on the meteorite? Zi Guan, why did you not catch him? The young palace master asked. Zi Guan was about to speak when Su Yu slowly opened his eyes and smiled. How have you been, young palace master of the sinful lady palace? What happened to you? The young palace master realized that the situation was different. Su Yu slowly stood up. Of course I came back to catch up with you, and discuss the ancient spell formation. Ridiculous! The young palace master flicked her finger, and the mighty power of the Triple Crown Emperor swept forth. In the past, Su Yu would not even have the strength to resist. But now a white emperor puppet was summoned, and it stood in front of Su Yu, blocking the oncoming desolate power. The young palace master was shocked. A 3-crown emperor-level puppet? Huang Fu Liang gasped. Wait, that's our Taiji Sex Yin-Yang puppet, and it's at the level of a 3-crown emperor. How did you get it? Su Yu smiled at the latter. I will chat with Brother Huang Fu later. He looked at the young palace master and said indifferently, How about it? Are you willing to sit down and have a good talk? The young palace master was shocked, but his eyes were filled with disdain. It's just a 3-crown emperor puppet, it can't do anything to me. How about this? Su Yu waved his palm, and another 3-crown emperor puppet appeared, standing on either side of Su Yu. The young palace master's pupils shrank. 2. Being stared at by 2 3-crown emperor puppets at the same time, her expression gradually became serious, but she still remained calm. It was just a puppet of the same level. At most, it could pose a slight threat. What do you want to talk about? The young palace master calmed the shock in his heart and asked slowly. Huang Fu Liang and the others were dumbfounded. Su Yu could actually sit down and negotiate with the young palace master. His face was overflowing with joy. He had not misjudged Su Yu. Su Yu was not an impulsive person. The divine warriors of heaven and earth, who had been greatly disappointed, were both ashamed and pleasantly surprised. You want to take the divine warriors of heaven and earth from the sea of constellations? The young palace master's eyes were grave. If you can pay an equivalent price, I can consider it. But Su Yu shook his head. You have misunderstood. What I want to discuss with you is the ancient spell. As for taking away the strong fighters of the Sea of Constellations, it's just a side benefit. Ancient spell? The young palace master stared at Purple Crown, her eyes cold. So, you know about it? Su Yu nodded. What do you want? The young palace master clasped his hands behind his back. It's very simple. Su Yu looked at her. Erase the relevant memories, and from now on, you will work for me and become my slave. Hearing this, the crowd was stunned. Making the young palace master of the sinful lady palace a slave, and erasing her memories of the ancient spell? Was this a negotiation? This was too much. The young palace master laughed angrily. You think you can do whatever you want with just 2 puppets? After so many years, I think you're regressing as you live. As soon as she finished speaking, she disappeared on the spot. Bang! With a dull thud, the 2 white emperor puppets joined forces to block a figure. The young palace master's attack on Su Yu had failed, and she began fighting with the 2 puppets. It had to be said that the young palace master's abilities were shocking. She was no weaker than the master of the Wind Cloud Villa. She alone was able to suppress the 2 puppets to the point where they could not move. Finally, the young palace master found an opening. She forced the 2 puppets back and launched a fatal attack on Su Yu. Unfortunately, your puppets cannot save your life. The young palace master laughed coldly. The 2 puppets could not save Su Yu in time, and Huang Fu Liang and the others could not help him. It looked like Su Yu was about to be killed by the 3-crowned divine warrior. But Su Yu's face was calm. He did not even try to dodge. He clenched his fist lightly, and 4 chains of law appeared in his palm. The purple, red, white, and jade chains of law intertwined together, forming an enormous chain. 4 chains of law. You comprehended 4 laws at the same time to become the divine warrior of heaven and earth? The young palace master was shocked, and an unbelievable thought popped up in her mind. Could it be that you are the one who recently broke through to become the divine warrior of heaven and earth? Su Yu's reply was a flick of his finger, and the 4-colored chain crashed toward her. With a dull groan, the young palace master's abdomen was pierced by the chain, and she was nailed to the ground. Her attack was easily destroyed by the chains of law. The whole place was dead silent. Su Yu had not moved a single step from the beginning, and he had easily suppressed the young palace master of the 3-crowned divine warrior? What kind of ability was this? It was only now that they realized that Su Yu's greatest advantage was not the 2 puppets, but himself. The young palace master endured the pain, and her eyes were filled with deep shock. Who are you? To be able to use the 6 laws to break through to the divine warrior of heaven and earth, and to succeed, such a person was definitely not as simple as a little creature trapped in the Tao Tai's cage. Su Yu's eyes were calm. Now, let's discuss the conditions from before again. The young palace master's face fell, and she clenched her teeth. She scolded in a stern voice, I am the young palace master of the sinful lady palace, and I will only follow the sinful lady in this life. Don't even think about making me your slave. Su Yu had spared her life because of her cultivation of the 3-crowned divine warrior, and he wanted to keep her for his own use. If she insisted on refusing, he would have no choice but to kill her. It was just like when she had chased Su Yu to the Dust Sand civilization and killed him. Then, I'm sorry. Su Yu flicked his wrist, and the chains of law were about to kill the young palace master. However, at that moment, in the Jianxian Ocean below, the projection of the ancient formation that had disappeared reappeared without any warning. A huge, pitch-black vortex appeared in the center of the ancient formation. A will that transcended levels descended upon the Sea of Constellations. Something happened to all of you, An indifferent voice drifted out from the depths of the vortex. It was obviously the most ordinary of words, but when it fell into the ears of the crowd, it was like a mysterious melody of the great path of heaven and earth. Huang Fu Liang and the others became absent-minded, immersed in that mysterious melody, unable to extricate themselves. Su Yu's eyes were lifeless, but the soul path fragment within his soul flashed, and Su Yu regained his composure. His heart was filled with shock, and he stared at the black vortex below, saying word by word, "Sinful woman." That voice, that sentence, that aura comparable to the heavenly law, could only belong to the sinful woman. Could she have activated the ancient formation alone, and was about to descend upon the sea of constellations? On the other hand, the young palace master was overjoyed. "We welcome the sinful woman." It was quiet within the black vortex, and after a moment, the sinful woman's light voice could be heard. "This ancient formation is not so easy to activate. I can't come out for the time being." The young palace master's face stiffened, and Su Yu heaved a sigh of relief. That was more like it. His gaze turned cold, and without any hesitation, he killed the young palace master on the spot. "Ah, palace master, save me!" The young palace master's voice stopped abruptly. Immediately after, Su Yu flicked his finger and killed Ziguan on the spot. After killing the two of them, Su Yu stared at the remaining single-crowned divine warriors. Some of them were from the sinful woman palace, while others had swallowed the holy elixir and transformed into the sinful woman palace. "Everyone, open your souls. I need to erase all the memories of the ancient formation." Huang Fu Liang hesitated for a moment, then took the initiative to open his soul. As Su Yu's soul entered, he erased all the memories related to the ancient formation. Under Su Yu's powerful intimidation, no one dared to disobey him. All of their memories were erased, and they passed out on the spot. With a wave of his sleeves, he took them all into the space of the Buddha pearl. After confirming that no one knew the secret of the ancient formation, Su Yu exited the meteorite and flew away. "Sai, I haven't seen you for so many years, but you're still as incorrigible as ever." The sinful woman's sigh came from the pitch-black vortex. Su Yu turned his head and said coldly, "When it comes to killing people like flies, I'm nothing compared to you." How many people had the sinful woman killed? The entire ancient god realm of 9 dragons was destroyed by her alone, and the number of lives lost was incalculable. Hearing the words, "killing people like flies," come out of her mouth, Su Yu only felt a deep sense of irony. "I only kill those who deserve to be killed, unlike you." Su Yu scoffed. The double standard of evaluation only made Su Yu feel even more disgusted. "Say whatever you want. You can stay in the Tao Tai cage and be sealed for eternity," Su Yu said nonchalantly. Then, he steered the meteorite away from the sea of constellations quickly. Although the sinful woman couldn't come out, based on his understanding of her, she must have other means to communicate across realms. It was better to leave as soon as possible. "I'm afraid I'll have to disappoint you. I'll return to the great beginning realm eventually," the sinful woman said calmly. "Before that, I'll give you a gift first." Bang! A purple ball of flesh suddenly shot out from the vortex and landed in the Jianxian Ocean. The purple ball of flesh wriggled slowly and transformed into a human form. His facial features were handsome like a fairy, and he was tall and slender. His elegant purple hair danced in the wind. If Su Yu was still here, he would have been shocked speechless. Chapter 1954. When Su Yu was about to escape from the Tao Tai cage, the sinful lady used her sinful lady path to entangle Su Yu's body, making it impossible for him to leave. At the critical moment, it was Xian'er who begged the Xianming Path Master to leave a shadow that could accommodate Su Yu's soul. In this way, Su Yu's soul could hide in the shadow and escape from the Tao Tai cage. However, Su Yu's body would remain inside forever. Now, the sinful lady could not break through herself, but she could project a living creature. That was Su Yu's former body. Her once silver-white hair had now turned into a deep purple. A pair of eyes slowly opened, revealing a hint of evil. Su Yu. Haha, I am the real Su Yu. Su Yu's mouth curled up into a strange, evil smile. Eliminate Su Yu and capture the Tian Shu Path Master. At the same time, inform the rest of the Sinful Lady Palace to continue activating the ancient formation. The black vortex slowly disappeared. The Sinful Lady had reached her limit. The purple-haired Su Yu turned around and bowed. Yes, my wife. After you replace the real Su Yu, you can call me your wife. The purple-haired Su Yu smiled evilly. Isn't the real Su Yu me? As he smiled evilly, he released an earth-shattering evil aura. The aura was so strong that it was comparable to the Five-Crown Emperor. When he finished speaking, the purple-haired Su Yu laughed and disappeared. The remaining aura swept across the Jianxian Ocean like a tsunami. In front of an ancient formation in the Tao Tai cage, a gigantic, snow-white dragon coiled around the ancient formation. On the head of the giant dragon, a sinful lady, whose face was covered with clouds and mist, sat cross-legged. She stared at the formation below and sighed softly. The artificial soul condensed from the remnant thoughts of the people Su Yu killed in his life is too evil. Could it be that all the people he killed in his life were evil people? Could it be that he has never killed anyone indiscriminately? Even the sinful lady was surprised by the evil strength of the artificial soul. The remnant thoughts at the end of one's life largely indicated the inner nature of one's life. Now that the artificial soul was so evil, it was obvious that the people Su Yu killed were not good people. However, since he harbors a criminal of the Heavenly Law Palace, he is a sinner and cannot be forgiven. The sinful lady shook her head lightly, denying the positive evaluation of Su Yu. His original body was condensed from the rule. It could be said to be immortal and indestructible. Only such a body could break through the ancient formation that has yet to be activated. I hope he can successfully kill the sinner, Su Yu, the sinful lady said slowly. Gradually, she closed her eyes and sat motionlessly in front of the ancient formation. It turned out that during the past 10 years, the sinful woman had not only found a peculiar soul for Su Yu's body, but she had also used a powerful secret technique to share her cultivation with him. Although he had only shared the tip of the iceberg, the purple-haired Su Yu's cultivation base was already at the level of a five-crown martial emperor. Not only that, but she also changed Su Yu's cultivation. This included Su Yu's weapons, the 9 heavenly orchid silver bamboo swords of the 9 suns cosmos sword formation, Su Yu's many divine techniques, including the demonic path, divine path, Azura path, and dragon path, were all strengthened. Together with the cultivation of a 5-crown emperor, it was probably enough to sweep through all experts under the Tao Master level. Capturing and killing Su Yu would be a piece of cake. Most importantly, the purple-haired Su Yu's soul was the remnant consciousness of the people Su Yu had killed. Their desire to kill Su Yu was the strongest in the world. Letting them go in pursuit was the most reassuring thing. Even if the purple-haired Su Yu died, he would still want to kill Su Yu. Su Yu, who was unaware of this, concealed his aura and left the Sea of Constellations after picking up the old man with the goatee. It was only when they reached the vicinity of the Dust Sand civilization that Su Yu put them down. Many thanks for Prince Su's help. The first to speak was the Purple Dream Sovereign, the former ruler of the Purple Flower Pavilion. She was the only female ruler among the 3 rulers. Su Yu calmly waved his hand. It's nothing. Now I will first undo the effects of your holy pellet, Su Yu said. Then, he spread his fingers, and thousands of tiny space blades shot out of his palm, which then drilled into their hair follicles. Everyone felt a stabbing pain in their bodies, and when they looked inside themselves, they discovered that the holy pill's medicinal energy had been precisely swept away by those spatial blades. Not long after, Huang Fu Liang, who had the highest cultivation level, was the first to regain his male identity. His feminine palace attire complemented his masculine appearance and figure, which made him stand out like a sore thumb. Huang Fuliang's face turned red, and he hurriedly revolved his magical energy to change his attire. Then, a look of joy appeared on his face. 10 years of nightmare had finally been released. The rest of the people recovered one after another, beaming with joy. "What plans do you all have?" Su Yu asked. The overlords each had their own plans. Some planned to leave the vicinity and head to other civilizations to develop, while others wanted to roam the world. The Purple Dream Sovereign pondered for a moment, then sighed. "I once wanted to find the Path Master who gave me my creations, but I never had the courage to leave the Sea of Constellations. Now that I have nowhere to go, I think it's time to summon the courage to find her and repay her kindness. She was once an extremely ordinary bamboo, but after listening to a Path Master's long-term lectures, she had evolved into a divine bamboo under his influence. Then, she developed spiritual intelligence and became the Purple Dream Sovereign of today. The Purple Dream Sovereign had always wanted to repay that Path Master, but she never had the chance. Now that she had nowhere to go, she would look for that Path Master." Su Yu thought for a moment, then took out the storage rings of the double-crowned divine warrior. "I have nothing else to give you, but these resources might be useful to you." The Purple Dream Sovereign's beautiful eyes lit up. She wanted to reject him, but all these years, her storage rings had been taken away by the sinful Lady Palace, and the resources within them had all been used up. After hesitating for a moment, she accepted the rings embarrassedly. "First, I owe you for saving my life, and now I owe you a generous gift. If we are fated to meet again in the future, I will definitely repay you generously. You're too kind. Be careful on your way." The Purple Dream Sovereign bid farewell again and again, then stepped onto a meteorite and entered the boundless void. Not long after, the strong overlords also bid farewell, each looking for their own lives. "What about you?" Su Yu asked Huang Fuliang. He laughed bitterly. "I want to return to the Tai Chi faction to take a look and see what has happened to the faction. All these years, my messages have not received any response. But the Tai Chi faction is too far away, and it requires at least 10 star stones to be transported once. I only have 1 star stone now." Su Yu was surprised. "You have star stones?" Huang Fuliang asked in surprise. "You know about star stones?" It seemed like Su Yu had experienced too much in the 10 years he had been away. He even knew about star stones. "If you can give me the star stone, I might be able to help you find 10 star stones," Su Yu said slowly. 10 star stones? Are you sure?" Su Yu nodded. He was not only sure, he had seen it with his own eyes. "All right, I'll give it to you. I'll also give you the star map." Huang Fuliang trusted Su Yu. Su Yu held the star stone and the star map in his hands, a troubled look on his face. He had the 2 items, but where could he find the intercivilization transportation portal? Intercivilization transportation portals can only be possessed by 2-star civilizations and above. The nearest 2-star civilization should be the Hahuan civilization that Su Yu had just conquered by the Du Empire. "I know a place," Su Yu said. He then steered the star stone, using the Heavenly Wings clan's method of manipulating the meteorites to fly rapidly through the void. The senior and junior sisters, who were hurrying over, suddenly sensed the change in the Emperor-killing sword. They turned around and chased after it. Meanwhile, Yun Qianshuang and her niece hurried on their way and finally arrived at the edge of the Sea of Constellations. In the end, just as they entered, a meteor brushed past them. Yun Qianshuang glanced sideways at him and immediately recognized that the person in front of her was Su Yu. "Wow. It's Brother Elegant, but he seems a little different," the young girl said blankly. Yun Qianshuang turned her meteor around and sneered. "So you really are in the Subjugation Crusades, Subjugation Crusade. See how I'll forgive you." In the direction of the joyous Union civilization, a meteorite sped away. Su Yu pondered as he controlled the meteorite. Now that he had broken through to the divine emperor of heaven and earth, it was time for him to fulfill his promise and head to the World Annihilation Plate to meet the Zhenlong, Jiuzhou, star region, and ancient god realm of the past. With a thought, Su Yu appeared in front of an ancient bronze tree. Long time no see. Su Yu's eyes were filled with nostalgia. He hadn't seen the ancient bronze tree god for many years, and it had already broken through to the emperor level. With a sweep of his soul, apart from her, many of the people he was familiar with had become peak overlord-class experts. Zhenlong Continent's Gang Dalai, the guardian of the 9 states, the Black Qilin, the all-access merchant god of the Great Eastern Alliance, the Xing deity, the Great Western Alliance's Tuoba deity, the Demon Dimensions by Wanqing, the eldest prince and the second princess, the Moonwatch sect leader, the Taiqing divine warrior, Yongye Chushue, and others who had been left behind in the god realm had all become overlord-level experts. Many familiar faces had also become deity-level experts. As far as the eye could see, the cavern worlds were connected like bright light. It was spectacular, far more than the combination of the eastern and western god realms and the lost god realms. However, the most obvious improvement was the ancient bronze tree god in front of him. It had become a peak overlord and was only a step away from becoming a half-step emperor. The ancient bronze tree god swayed and asked, "Who are you? I don't know you. Why are you trying to get close to me?" Hearing the bitterness in her words, Su Yu laughed and took out a top-grade divine stone. "What about now?" Su Yu shook the divine stone. "Ahaha, it's Su Yu. Long time no see, long time no see." The huge ancient bronze tree god swayed and transformed into a young girl in a green dress. She looked familiar, but her eyes were staring at the divine stone. "That!" She rubbed her palms and said with a smile, "Can you tell me what this is? It seems to contain a very strong divine energy." Su Yu smiled and said, "It's a divine stone. In the area where I am currently, it is the universal currency, which is money." "Money?" The tree god's eyes were bursting with the light of horror. Like a wolf that had been hungry for a long time, she rushed up and roared, "Quick! Give me the money quickly! I haven't seen money for tens of thousands of years." With a swish, the divine stone in Su Yu's palm was snatched away by the tree god like a hungry dog.